Welcome to the fantasy audiobook. Pirates, sign in at the beginning of the Naruto character card. Chapter 81. The next moment, Qin Chuan spread his hands and pushed forward. Shua. In an instant, this hurricane roared towards the thick fog in front of it. The momentum swept all directions and spread rapidly. Immediately afterwards, the sea level, which was originally calm, was instantly stirred up by this hurricane with a terrifying huge wave. The monstrous sea water was rolled up and directly smashed down on the decks of all the ships. At the same time, where the hurricane passed, even the thickest fog was quickly blown away immediately. After only a moment, the sea area that was originally invisible suddenly became extremely bright. At this moment, some ships suddenly exclaimed, "Look, what's that?" At this time, everyone looked forward one after another. After the thick fog dissipated, there was a huge ship standing in front of it. Its front door opened like a huge mouth, as if it could swallow all intruders. At this time, the ship was surrounded by a thick wall, which looked like a castle from the outside. This is the so-called largest ship in the world, the terrifying three-masted sailing ship. On this terrifying three-masted sailboat, a tall and eye-catching figure looked towards Qin Chuan and the others immediately. "Isn't this ship too big? It's almost as big as an island, and why is it so tall? Could it be a giant race?" After seeing Moonlight Moria not far away, Douglas Barrett, who met for the first time, couldn't help but sigh with emotion. Under normal circumstances, their normal human height is more than 1 meter, but this Moonlight Moria has reached 7 meters in height, so in the eyes of ordinary people, he is like a giant. Not only that, but there were already countless figures standing on the huge deck of this terrifying three-masted sailing ship. These figures are obviously the zombie army he controls. After seeing Moonlight Moria and his zombie army, the momentum of the originally high-spirited joint army fell silent instantly. After seeing this scene, even Major Zoas of the Navy branch suddenly felt his legs go limp, and almost sat down. It's not that he doesn't know that Moonlight Moria is doing something wrong in the West Sea, but if he really wants to fight against the opponent with his own strength, it's tantamount to hitting a stone with an egg. So at this time, he can only wait for Qin Chuan's order to do some auxiliary work from the side, and then let the news media describe himself as heroic. At that time, if he performs well, he may be able to become a rear admiral of the Navy headquarters directly like Smoker. Thinking of this, Iseus regains some courage. At this time, on the terrifying three-masted sailing ship, several competent officers around Moonlight Moria were also completely shocked by Qin Chuan's move. A woman with pink double ponytails, a crown on her head, and a wine-red umbrella in her hand stared at Moonlight Moria with wide eyes and said, "Lord Moria, what should we do now?" Quote, "HMPH, I didn't expect to break our natural barrier from the very beginning, it seems that this guy is really capable. But don't worry too much, Corona, as long as you can control the zombie army well, we won't be defeated." Quote, Moonlight Moria said with a gloomy face. But in fact, his heart is already turbulent at this time. Obviously, he didn't have much confidence in this battle. And the Perona he was talking about was one of the 3 monsters under Moonlight Moria, a superhuman devil fruit ghost fruit ability user, and the commander of the zombie army. "Give me some of the zombies, I want to meet the Chinchuan pirates in person." At this moment, Hobak, one of the 3 monsters, glanced at the red foss, which was sprinting at a high speed, and immediately ordered Perona to the side. Although everyone's status is equal, Hobak is a genius surgeon. He has rescued many patients with miraculous operations, and at the same time created a zombie army with his own hands. Therefore, Moonlight Moria still values and trusts him, and also gives him the right to command zombies. Seeing that Hobak had spoken in person, although Perona was unwilling, she dispatched a batch of zombies for him as soon as possible. At this time, the United Army, led by the Chinchuan pirates, was galloping towards the terrifying three-masted sailing ship ahead. When the distance between the two sides was infinitely narrowed, everyone saw the expressionless zombies on the terrifying three-masted sailing ship. What the hell are these? Why do they look so creepy? It was the first time Bartolomeo, who had heard of zombies, swallowed his saliva and couldn't help but speak. This kind of zombie is also known as humanoid. It is Moonlight Moria's subordinate Hobak who goes to cemeteries around the world to steal corpses, transform and preserve them, and then inject shadows into them to become zombies. Zombies in the actual sense of the word. This kind of zombie has the personality and combat ability of the Shadow Master. Moreover, if a contract is made that leaves the original owner's nature, the memory of the original owner will not be retained. The longer the shadow and corpse are fused, the zombie will change from initial rebellion to complete obedience. And the higher the fighting ability of the Shadow Master, the stronger zombie will be formed. Quote. At this time, Qin Chuan immediately shouted at Bartolomeo and the people on the surrounding ships. He also said this to explain to everyone what kind of species this so-called zombie is. Then what should we do? After hearing Qin Chuan's words, Iseus, who was closest to him, quickly shouted on the warship. It's nothing to do, they are actually a shell, and the core thing is the shadow in this shell. And the shadow came from Moonlight Moria's license, so as long as he is defeated or killed, then these zombie legions will all fall automatically in the first place. Quote. Qin Chuan shouted again. In fact, Qin Chuan also knows that this thing is most afraid of salt. Zombies that rely on the ability of devil fruits to move will be purified as long as salt with sea energy is stuffed into their mouths. At the same time, if the owner of the shadow dies, the shadow will disappear immediately. But these two methods are not very suitable for large-scale battles, especially the second method, in order to make the shadow disappear and kill the person who has been deprived of the shadow. So the most important thing is to defeat Moonlight Moria head-on. After listening to Qin Chuan's words, everyone knew that the key to this battle was the few members of the Qin Chuan pirates. But even so, everyone has already pulled out their guys, ready to fight hand-to-hand later. When the Red Fourth was about to approach the deck of the terrifying three-masted sailing ship, Moonlight Maria finally opened his mouth. Boy, you really dared to die, and you even sent so many specimens to be refined into new zombies for me. I really want to thank you. Even under the extremely disadvantaged situation, Moonlight Maria still spoke confidently. Okay, don't pretend so much, you know how much you own, and you should have received the delisting notice issued by the world government, right? Is it uncomfortable to feel abandoned? Quote. At this time, Qin Chuan did not show any anger, but said lightly in a playful tone. Moonlight Moria, who originally wanted to anger the other party, not only did not anger Qin Chuan, but was a little angry by Qin Chuan's words. Indeed, early this morning, the world government personally contacted him via the phone bug, and personally announced on the phone that he would be permanently removed from the sequence of King Shichibukai. Immediately afterwards, he also issued a wanted warrant for him. On the wanted notice, his bounty has reached as high as 320 million berry. This number is already quite huge. After all, the former King Shachiwahai Boa Hancock and Shah Crocodile in front of him combined are not as high as half of his bounty. Such treachery by the world government made him feel not only abandoned, but also underestimated. He can tolerate being abandoned, but he can't bear being looked down upon. Back then, he was defeated by Beast Kaido, one of the 4 emperors, in Wano country. Since then, he has kept making himself stronger and stronger, in order to regain his lost dignity. Now, this opportunity has come. As long as he can defeat the famous Chinchuan pirates and the joint army he leads, then the world government will definitely bow to him again. And the world will fully understand that he, Moonlight Maria, is not a person to be bullied. So in this battle, he must fight, and he must win. Thinking of this, Moonlight Moria suddenly grinned at the corner of his mouth, and then shouted at all the conscious people around him, "These guys will be handed over to you." The next moment, both Perona and Hobak acted at the same time. The huge zombie army led by them began to rush towards the joint army who had landed and disembarked like a tide. But at this moment, before Qin Chuan could open his mouth, Iseus yelled towards the surroundings. "Give it to me, kill Moonlight Maria." Immediately afterwards, countless people in the combined army raised their weapons and began to charge towards the zombie army. In addition, the soldiers on the navy side also immediately raised their muskets. Fire! Under the command of Iseus, countless bullets burst out from the musket. Immediately afterwards, countless sprinting zombies were instantly pierced by bullets. But at this moment, a strange scene appeared. These zombies did not fall down after being pierced by bullets, but instead rushed forward even more vigorously. Seeing this scene, apart from Qin Chuan and a very few people present who knew the details of this thing, the spines of everyone else suddenly felt chills. Come on, you guys go deal with those 3 monsters, and I'll take care of the rest. Shimura Danzo itself is a ruthless character, so Qin Chuan didn't need to let other character cards possess him again, and even rushed forward immediately. At the same time, Sha Crocodile and the others immediately wrapped the red domineering armed color around their bodies and followed them. In an instant, the 2 sides entered the stage of hand-to-hand combat on the huge deck of the terrifying 3-masted sailing ship. Moonlight Moria, your opponent is me. Look at the trick, Wind Escape Vacuum Jade. Qin Chuan shouted loudly during the sprint, and then when he breathed out, he fired the energy accumulated in his mouth like a bullet. Shish, several bullets shot at Moonlight Moria in an instant. But at this moment, Moonlight Moria showed a strange smile. The next moment, when the bullet was about to hit his huge body, his body suddenly became nothingness. Then, the bullet flew out towards the distance as if it had hit the air, and finally disappeared at the end. At the same time, Moonlight Moria appeared on the other side of the shadow reflected by his body. HMPH, Shadow Warrior. Let the shadow switch places with your own body, this move of yours is really a good defensive skill. After seeing this scene, Qin Chuan was not surprised at all, but started to sneer again. Hearing that Qin Chuan actually mentioned the name and effect of his move, Moonlight Moria was shocked again. But his face is still very calm at this time. Now it's my turn. Scatter the bats. The next moment, it was Moonlight Moria's turn to make a move, and he quickly split the shadow that appeared in front of Qin Chuan, and finally formed a large number of bat-shaped shadows. Then, these bat-shaped shadows frantically rushed towards Qin Chuan in front of him. These bat shadows are scrambling to be the first, as if they want to swallow everything in front of them. Okay, since you can control the shadow, then you can guess which one is my body. Clone technique. There was a bang. First, a cloud of thick fog appeared on Qin Chuan's body, and then when the thick fog cleared, 3 identical Qin Chuan suddenly appeared on the spot. This sudden vision also frightened everyone around who had been paying attention to the battle here. After punching through a zombie's head, Douglas Barrett looked at the 3 Qin Chuan with dilated pupils. At the same time, Boa Hancock and Sha Crocodile also showed a hint of incredulity in their eyes. Lord Iseus, why did that guy have 3 identical bodies? At this time, someone in the desperately fighting naval unit not far away also discovered all this. Don't worry about it so much, we can only pray that he will kill that Moonlight Moria quickly, otherwise these unkillable zombies will consume us alive. At this time, Iseus was holding a big knife to resist the attack of 5 zombies. And just as he was speaking, suddenly another zombie sprang out next to him and slashed at his face. Iseus was shocked when he saw this, and then hurriedly tried to avoid it sideways. But the opponent's speed was so fast that he didn't dodge it immediately. Shua, a knife mark immediately appeared on Iseus's chest, and blood flowed from the wound immediately. Maid, come and support me. Iseus covered his wound and yelled at the surrounding naval soldiers. But at this time, almost everyone is entangled by zombies, so there is no ability to support Iseus. And at this moment, a transparent barrier wall rushed towards him. Boom! In the blink of an eye, dozens of zombies along the road were knocked out one after another, and some even fell directly into the sea. And these zombies completely lost their ability to move after falling into the sea, and then sank directly. Seeing this scene, Iseus immediately beamed with joy, and then shouted at the people around him, "Push them into the sea." Hearing Iseus cry, the united army, which was struggling to support, suddenly saw a glimmer of hope, and then everyone began to drive these zombies to the edge of the terrifying 3-masted sailing ship. Seeing the zombies falling into the water one by one, Absalom, one of the 3 monsters and the second force of the terrifying 3-masted sailing ship pirate group, couldn't sit still anymore, even raised his hands immediately. Hand of the Dead. The next moment, several very powerful shells burst out from the completely transparent rocket launcher in his hand. Boom! All of a sudden, there were a lot of explosions in the open space ahead, and at the same time, countless people were blown away by the explosions and flew around. The zombie army is not afraid of shells, so Absalom is not worried about hitting his own people at all. And this is one of the abilities of his superhuman transparent devil fruit. This devil fruit can make one's body transparent, and at the same time, it can also make all people and things it touches transparent. But transparency does not mean non-existence, it just makes the body of people and things neither reflect nor absorb light, so it will appear invisible in the eyes of all observers around. And just as he was about to strike again, he suddenly felt a terrifying aura approaching quickly. Absalom immediately turned his head to look, only to see a phantom bursting at high speed. Seeing this scene, Absalom's eyes turned cold, and then he raised his fist and slammed it hard at the figure. Hand of the Weirdo. This move is also one of his devil fruit abilities, which can make his fist hit a wild attack with a weight of 300 kilograms in an instant. When fighting cautiously, this move is very powerful, and it is also one of his trump cards. But the next moment, the phantom also stretched out its fist as it approached. But his fist is mixed with a lot of red and black momentum. This momentum was surging, as if it enveloped everything along the road. And after seeing the true face of this figure, Absalom couldn't help but exclaim, "Douglas Barrett!" Boom! After a muffled sound, the fists of the two collided instantly. Immediately afterwards, the sound of bones breaking came from Absalom's fist. Crack! In the face of Douglas Barrett in devil form, Absalom's 300 kilograms weight fist is so vulnerable. Immediately afterwards, Absalom completely made his body transparent immediately, regardless of the sharp pain coming from his right hand. In this way, Douglas Barrett could not lock him in the first place. Sure enough, when Absalom completely entered the transparent state, Douglas Barrett lost his target in an instant. At this time, he immediately stopped and frowned, carefully watching every move around him. But at this moment, he suddenly noticed a strange movement behind him, and then he turned around and punched again. Boom! There was another muffled sound, and this time it still hit Absalom's fist. But this time Absalom injured his left hand. But in this way, both of his hands were directly crippled by Douglas Barrett. "Ah, how did you know of my existence?" Absalom couldn't help cursing after taking a few steps back. "HMPH, don't you know that there is such an ability as knowledgeable domineering?" After listening to Absalom's words, Douglas Barrett said calmly after patting the dust off his body. "He actually has a domineering look. Knowledge-colored domineering is able to perceive everything around it in a wide range, so it is called a super ability that can predict opponents in advance." But what he didn't know was that Douglas Barrett's knowledgeable arrogance was already terrifyingly powerful. Thinking of this, Absalom swallowed, and at the same time, a trace of panic was already showing on his face. The current battle situation is very unfavorable to them. Most of the zombie army has been killed or injured, and now Perona and the others are also entangled by other people in the Chinchuan pirates. And the most important point is that the strength of the two sides is too great. His own strength was strong enough, but when facing the legendary, Devil's Descendant, Douglas Barrett in front of him, after only 2 rounds, his arms were completely crippled. So it seems that it doesn't make much sense to continue fighting at this time. Then, he also ignored Douglas Barrett, and then made his body completely transparent again. Seeing that Absalom made himself transparent again, Douglas Barrett had no intention of letting him go easily. He immediately released his knowledge-colored arrogance completely, trying to feel the location of Absalom through the powerful knowledge-colored arrogance. Sure enough, when Absalom was completely invisible and wanted to leave the scene, Douglas Barrett accurately captured the escape trajectory. The next moment, Douglas Barrett charged up again like a ghost. Boom! A muffled sound. Absalom hit the ground hard again. This time, Absalom's transparency also completely disappeared, because a lot of blood had flowed out of his body at this time. The fresh blood dyed his whole body blood red in an instant. In this case, the transparent state is completely invalid. Cough, cough. After coughing violently twice, Absalom stood up with difficulty. But he didn't look at Douglas Barrett, but turned to look at his master, Moonlight Mariah. "Master, run away." When he finished saying this, his face suddenly froze in place. Then he grinned painfully at Moonlight Mariah, and fell heavily to the ground. At this time, Moonlight Moria, who was fighting Chin Chuan not far away, also followed the voice and looked towards this side. When he saw that the abdomen of his subordinate had been pierced, his expression changed suddenly. Abu Shalom. After Moonlight Moria roared, he was ready to try to save people. But at this moment, Chin Chuan sneered. "Want to leave? Let's go to hell with him." Mudden Baoqiangshu. I saw Qin Chuan stretched out his right hand, and then suddenly and quickly grew the trunk of a huge tree on his right arm. The trunk of this tree rushed to Moonlight Maria in an instant, and the branches on the trunk immediately entangled it tightly. Moonlight Moria was a little impatient just now, so when the big tree stretched out, he couldn't dodge in time. Seeing being entangled right now, Moonlight Moria was shocked. But after all, he is a battle-tested person, so even when his body was unable to move, he still snorted softly. Shadow Mage. Afterwards, a giant shadow clone was quickly separated from his body. This shadow rushed towards Qin Chuan not far away at the first time. At this time, Qin Chuan was tightly trapped by Moonlight Moria with one arm, so he stood still and could not move quickly. After seeing the shadow rushing towards him, Qin Chuan smiled slightly, and then exerted all his strength with his right arm. Ah! The branches wrapped around Moonlight Maria shrank instantly. At this time, the black shadow that was about to sprint to Qin Chuan also instantly froze in place. Because at this time, its owner is undergoing the most terrifying torture. The intertwined branches swallowed Moonlight Maria completely in an instant. Owner. Seeing this scene, Huobake and others who were still struggling to support suddenly exclaimed. At this moment, the tall Moonlight Moria had completely disappeared. And the trunk that Qin Chuan protruded from also began to seep a lot of blood. Even the shadow scattered by that Moonlight Maria instantly vanished into nothingness. At this moment, the scene where fierce fighting was still erupting was completely quiet for an instant. Everyone turned their eyes to Qin Chuan's side. Obviously, at this time, whether Moonlight Maria has died is crucial to this battle. The master isn't dead yet. These zombies still exist, so it means he's fine. At this moment, Hobak lost his composure. Originally, the beheading of Absalom was enough to hurt morale. Now if their spiritual pillar, Moonlight Moria, fell, there would be no need for this battle to continue. But as soon as his words fell, the trunk of the big tree shrank rapidly again. The next moment, a large amount of blood spurted out again. Then, the zombie army that they depended on for survival began to fall on a large scale. If this happens to the zombie army, there are only two possibilities. One is the person who controls the zombie army, that is, Moonlight Maria, who takes the initiative to release the control. The other is that Moonlight Moria passively released their control. If it is the second case, it means that Moonlight Maria is either dead or disabled. Stop it all for me. Anyone who dares to resist again will be killed without mercy. At this moment, Qin Chuan suddenly yelled domineeringly at everyone around him. At this time, Huobake's inner world has completely collapsed. He knelt down on both knees immediately, and then tears of despair flowed down his face. And Perona, who was held motionless on the ground by Boa Hancock, also closed her eyes in despair after seeing Moonlight Maria like this. Then, Qin Chuan took the big tree back completely. When the entwined branches were completely loosened, a Moonlight Moria appeared in front of everyone with his compressed facial features completely distorted. Originally, his face was very scary, but now this appearance shocked everyone even more. But at this time, Moonlight Moria was completely lifeless. Immediately, he collapsed under the eyes of everyone. Ding! Congratulations to the host for successfully defeating the enemy. You have received a total of 30,000 reputation rewards this time. This time, Qin Chuan unexpectedly gained 30,000 reputation points, which also shows that Moonlight Maria still has certain strength. It's just that he was too unlucky to meet a monster like Qin Chuan. But the matter has come to this point, this battle has been completely declared over. Without the existence of the zombie army, without the absolute leader, the remaining living pirates on the terrifying 3 sailboats dare not resist at all. Everyone began to surrender to the united army. The remaining 2 cadres of the terrifying 3-masted sailing ship pirates, Hogubik and Perona, were also tied up tightly by the navy led by Isius with sea stone chains. Heilushi is equivalent to the crystallization of the sea. Its composition is similar to that of the sea. It can be said that it is the solid state of the sea. Therefore, besides being afraid of sea water, people with devil fruit abilities will also be afraid of Heilushi. When the navy was making sea stones, it was said to deal with devil fruit ability users. So for a person like Perona who mainly relies on the ability of devil fruits to make a living, if she is handcuffed by Heilushi, her combat effectiveness will be almost zero. However, although this Halu stone is mainly used to imprison the devil fruit-capable users, at the same time, because it is extremely hard, it cannot be damaged by ordinary means. So the Navy also uses it to imprison some non-devil fruit ability users, but the strength is still very strong. For example, a guy like Douglas Barrett who has devil fruit ability, but even if he doesn't use devil fruit ability, he can also explode amazing combat power. How to deal with this ship? After clearing up the battlefield, Iseus immediately ran over and asked Qin Chuan. Although he won a complete victory this time, he is also very clear that this is entirely due to the Qinchuan pirates. So right now, he still has to follow Qin Chuan's advice on how to deal with these trophies. Before that, he also thought clearly. If Qin Chuan had to take the ship, he would admit it. Anyway, he caught 2 cadres and the body of Moonlight Maria, which was enough for him to go back and make a smooth job. Up. You take these things back and hand them over, but he must have huge wealth on board, so you can withhold some of them and distribute them to other personnel who came to fight this time. In addition, if it is a person who died in battle, then you are giving an extra share to their family members, which is regarded as burial expenses. Quote. Okay, no problem. Hearing this, Ishustin was overjoyed again. Now, the booty he captured this time can be said to be quite a lot. Even if he distributes some of it to others, he can still hand over the business smoothly. However, I can say my ugly words first. The spoils of war will be distributed in the name of both of us. In addition, if I find that you are pocketing your own money, I will swallow the money myself. Then even if you are hiding in Marin Fando, I will still find you out. You should know my strength and courage. Quote. At this moment, Qin Chuan suddenly lowered his face and warned. That's for sure. We represent justice ourselves, so naturally we won't do things that pirates do. Iseus blurted out immediately. What did you say? After hearing what Iseus said, Boa Hancock suddenly turned his head and glared at him and said displeased ly. No, nothing. HMPH, without us so-called pirates, your navy is still hiding in the city and surviving. At this time, even Douglas Barrett dismissed it. Yes, that's what you said. Iseus also knew that he had said something wrong just now, so he naturally didn't dare to reply when he was scolded by the other party. In this way, a world-renowned battle finally came to an end. In just one day, the news that the joint army led by the Qinchuan pirates successfully killed Moonlight Maria quickly spread all over the world. This time, Qin Chuan's dominance once again shocked the world. In particular, after George, a reporter from the World News and Economics Agency, successfully exposed the video footage of Qin Chuan killing Moonlight Maria on the warship, it caused global panic for a while. A member of Shichibukai with a bounty of 300 million berry, a devil fruit-capable user who ruled a huge pirate group, was slaughtered without any power to fight back. And this is not over yet. After Moonlight Maria was killed, the Navy distributed a considerable part of these spoils to the teams participating in the war in the name of the United Army. Such behavior has also aroused heated discussions around the world. For a while, a philosophical topic such as, is Qin Chuan an angel or a devil, appeared on the World Economic News daily. Some people think that Qin Chuan not only wiped out the pirates all the way, but also maintained the local law and order environment. People like this should not be called pirates. But there are also people who think that one day is black and the rest of his life is black. He escaped from prison. As long as the world government does not designate him, he will always be a fugitive. Not only Qin Chuan himself, but also all his crew members began to be discussed by the world. In this way, Qinchuan pirates' reputation has far surpassed the powerhouses who ruled the seas at the same time, whether it is on the Great Route or in the seas of the New World. At this time, on Fishman Island, a huge group of pirates just approached the port. At this time, a large number of Murlocs had gathered on the land. The leader was Jinbei in patterned yukata and geta. Then, when the people on the pirate ship successfully landed on the island one after another, Jinbei greeted them immediately. Captain Vista, you have worked hard this trip. This pirate ship is the special ship of the 5th Division of the Whitebeard Pirates, and it is also the captain of the division, Foil, Vista. Well, Dad sent me to help you guys. If those blind guys dare to step into Murloc Island, then I will let them be buried in the sea forever. At this moment, Vista stroked his beard and said sternly, Here, Captain Vista, you may not know something. Just now we received news that the Chinchuan pirates had successfully killed Moonlight Maria, and the entire horror Sandsail pirates were completely destroyed. Up. So this group of people is by no means an idle person, isn't it a bit difficult to compete with our strength? Quote. Although Jinbei also knew that he shouldn't say this in front of Vista, because it seemed that he looked down on Vista's strength. But now the actual situation is in front of him, he doesn't think his strength is much stronger than that of Moonlight Moria, and the strength of an ordinary captain will definitely not be much higher. And after listening to Jinbei's words, as expected, Vista already showed a displeasure expression on his face. But he still thumped inwardly. Because the Fishman Island lives in the deep sea below 10,000 meters, his ship sailed in the sea for 3 full days. During these 3 days, naturally no outside news came in. Now that he had just landed on Fishman Island and received this explosive message, he couldn't help but start to worry a little about whether he could resist the Chinchuan pirates. Let's not care about that much, I will let my father let the wind out, if Chin Chuan and the others know that I have come, and they still dare to make up your mind. Then he made it clear that he wanted to fight against our entire Whitebeard pirates and Dad. At that time, even if he has 3 heads and 6 arms, it's useless. Quote. Although Vista is also a little weak, but he is a captain after all, so he can't show weakness at this time, so he can only bite the bullet and open his mouth to comfort Jinping. And Jinping was somewhat relieved to hear that his father would speak out in person at that time. After all, the presence of Edward Newgate's name there is enough to shock most people in this world. In Marlon Vander, in the Marshal's office, Warring States is answering a special call at this time. Commander Sora, are you going to invite him to Marie Joya at this juncture? Isn't this too risky? There is no risk, Wu Laoxing has already made a decision, his strength has been fully verified, and in addition to this battle, he not only won a complete victory but also gained the hearts of the people. Now people all over the West Sea have even started to shout, "Long live the Chinchuan pirates," so let's take this opportunity to recruit him. Quote. At this moment, Sora said in a deep voice on the phone. As the Commander-in-Chief of the Sea, Land and Air Forces, he naturally has the right to ask the Warring States to do anything. Okay, I'll try to talk to him. Now that the high-level officials have already decided on this matter, Warring States will not say anything more. After he hung up the phone, he immediately prepared to contact Iseus. At this time, the United Army had just returned to the port of Ilusia. Now, in the entire city of Elysia, the people of the whole city can't wait to welcome the heroes to return in triumph. A large number of citizens stood on both sides of the street to welcome Chin Chuan and others. First, Iseus led the naval team and prisoners such as Perona who was bound went up first. All of a sudden, a large number of angry citizens threw the food in their hands at the people of the terrifying 3-sailing pirate group. On the other hand, Iseus kept waving to the surrounding onlookers with a happy face. He had never experienced this scene before. But although he was waving his hands vigorously, the people around him didn't pay much attention to him. Then, when Chin Chuan and others formally came over, enthusiastic cheers broke out on both sides of the road. Everyone was spontaneously shouting the names of Chin Chuan, Douglas Barrett, Sandy Crocodile and others. At this moment, not only Chin Chuan felt an inexplicable sense of accomplishment in his heart, but even Douglas Barrett and Shaw Crocodile, who had always been known for being cold-blooded, couldn't help but feel a little moved. Before that, they were called and beaten by everyone, and they were also recognized as villains all over the world. But now, all this has completely changed, and they have become heroes in the hearts of the world. Even when Roger obtained the treasure and stood on top of the world, the Roger pirates did not reach such a height. In this team, only Boa Hancock has a very calm expression. After all, she was the lord of a country before this. In the Lily Kingdom, her reputation and prestige were enough to make the people of the whole country kneel down and salute her. So she naturally looked down on the people in this mere town. After receiving the cheers of the people in the city, Chin Chuan and others came to the base of the 25th branch of the Navy together. Here, Chin Chuan received a call from Admiral Zhang Guo. "Hey, Marshal of the Warring States period, we finally talk." After the call was connected, Chin Chuan spoke first in a playful tone. "Chin Chuan, you really impress everyone. I didn't expect to be able to do so many things in just 1 month. So now I want to tell you a piece of good news. The world government has made a decision today. Now, we officially invite you to the Holy Land of Marijoa to discuss a series of cooperation matters between the two parties. What do you think? Quote. The warring states came straight to the point. Oh, so the world government agreed to my previous proposal. After hearing what the warring states period said, Qin Chuan didn't show too much surprise. After all, any fool now knows that his strength is enough to challenge any king under Qi Wuhai. I can't guarantee this, but since the world government invited you, it represents our sincerity. If we can't reach an agreement, will you let me go? After all, I am also a little worried that you will turn your face and deny anyone. HMPH, are you still afraid of this? Zhang Guo asked immediately. Haha, it's hard to say, in case your navy is fully deployed at that time, so many generals and lieutenant generals will charge up, even if I try my best, I won't be able to kill many people. So don't worry too much. At least our navy has not received any orders to deal with you. In addition, if you agree to go to Marijoa, then I will send an admiral to take you there personally. At this time, Zhang Guo made a special mention. Rather than sending a general to lead them, it is better to monitor them. Alright then, but please don't send Sakazuki over here, otherwise I can't guarantee that I will kill him then. Qin Chuan reminded meaningfully. In fact, he said this on purpose to let the warring states know that if the warring states is going to send a general this time, he'd better not consider Sakazuki, otherwise the two sides will have a big fight when they are unhappy, and the matter will be completely complicated. Understood. 3 days later, I will let Pelusilino wait for you in the city of Orhos on the Red Earth continent. Over there, he will take you to the peak of the Red Earth continent, the Holy Land of Marijoa. Zhang Guo said in a deep voice. He naturally knew what Qin Chuan meant, and without Qin Chuan's reminder, it was impossible for him to send Sakazuki. So after thinking about it, he decided to send a general who was relatively obedient and didn't seem to have such bitter hatred for the pirates. Hearing that Pelusilino came to pick him up in person, Qin Chuan immediately laughed out loud. In fact, among the 3 admirals, Pelusilino's identity is the most suspicious. Before crossing over, the anime plot did not reveal whether he was an undercover agent of the Revolutionary Army. So Qin Chuan really wanted to meet him in person. After hanging up the phone, Qin Chuan gathered everyone together again. At this moment, their faces were full of smiles, obviously everyone was still immersed in the cheers of the people in the city. How? What did the warring states say? Shah Crocodile asked. He said that the world government wanted to talk to us, and let us wait for Admiral Pelusilino in the city of Orhos on the Red Earth continent in 3 days. At that time, he will personally take us up to the Holy Land Marijoa. Qin Chuan said. What, are we really going to negotiate there? Wouldn't it be too risky? In my opinion, we should be on the safe side, just find an island outside, and let the world government send someone over to talk to us first. Boa Hancock immediately objected after hearing this. She knows the high-level gang of the world government too well. Taking Qin Chuan as an example, the world government has played a double-faced role here. On the one hand, they recognized Boa Hancock's status, but on the other hand, they encouraged Qin Chuan to defeat her. So if you want to go to the Holy Land of Marijoa as a pirate right now, it will definitely not be a wise choice. That's right, even as Shichibukai, who are officially recognized by the king, would not go to Marijoa in person when we were still pirates. At the beginning, the world government personally issued a document to announce to the world, and after appointing us, we only logged into Marijoa through legal identities. Now let's not talk about Boa Hancock and me, you two are still escaped prisoners. If you go there rashly, we will not take it seriously when the other party really starts to fight. At that time, even if something happens to us, no one will stand by our side and sympathize with us. Quote. Shah Crocodile also opened his mouth to remind him. After all, the world government itself is not a government agency that keeps its promises. Haha, do you have no confidence in me or in yourself? Isn't it just a mere Marijoa? No one in this world will sympathize with the weak. In addition, don't you forget that the Holy Land of Marijoa is inhabited by the aristocratic celestial dragons who rule the world. They are really not afraid that we will catch a few celestial dragons when we rebel. Qin Chuan said indifferently after listening. After hearing Qin Chuan's words, everyone gasped. The Tianlong people are the descendants of the 20 kings who established the world government 800 years ago, and they are also the absolute rulers of this world. Even the world government and the navy headquarters should be based on the Tianlong people. So indeed, if a war is really going to start in the Holy Land of Mariaoa, then the Tianlong people living there will definitely be threatened. That makes sense. Then let's go meet the guys from the world government and see what they are capable of. Douglas Barrett said. After what Qin Chuan said, everyone present felt a little relieved. 3 days later, Qin Chuan and his party finally landed on the legendary Red Earth continent. At the port of Oricos, a group of naval soldiers had been waiting for a long time. After disembarking, a man wearing a navy coat and a black suit walked up slowly. Mr. Qin Chuan, I am Commodore Kibben stationed here. Hello, where's Pelusolino? Qin Chuan glanced around, but did not see Admiral Pelusolino in a yellow suit, and then asked curiously. There has been a storm at sea recently in the direction of Marin Fanduo, so Admiral Pelusolino's fleet will arrive here tomorrow, and I will entertain you today. Kibben explained. Hearing this, Qin Chuan nodded. After all, in this era, storms still have a serious impact on everyone. Even the pirate group that dominates one side cannot resist the damage caused by natural disasters. After entering the city, Ji Bin immediately arranged for Qin Chuan and others to live in a high-end hotel. Everyone, although this is not the Holy Land of Mariajoya, it is the last stop to Mariajoya after all, so some Tianlong people will come here from time to time. If we do meet at that time, I hope that everyone will not have any conflicts, so as to avoid some unnecessary troubles. Quote. At this moment, Kibben suddenly spoke to remind everyone to get up. Obviously, in this place, the navy and ordinary citizens will never provoke these people, but the Tianlong people are not necessarily. But now, before the arrival of Pelusolino, Qin Chuan and his party are in charge of all the affairs of Qin Chuan and his party, so if there is any disturbance here, then he really can't deal with the higher-ups. Okay, got it. Qin Chuan nodded. As long as the Tianlong people don't look for trouble, then he really doesn't want to go to war with the world government at this stage. But just after Kibben finished speaking and turned to leave, Boa Hancock's body was shaking involuntarily. Qin Chuan couldn't tell whether she was angry or afraid, so he walked up to her and patted her on the shoulder lightly. No matter what, now is not the time to start a full-scale war with them. We don't have enough manpower, so you have to be patient for a while. Hearing Qin Chuan's words, Boya Hancock's trembling body relaxed a little. How about we go out for a stroll? This is connected to the 4 seas, and it can be regarded as a commercial transit point. It is said that there are exotic goods from all over the place, so we just go out for a stroll. Anyway, there is nothing to do. At this moment, Bartolomeo couldn't bear his temper and suggested. He was not an idle person, and it was his first time here, so it was impossible for him to stay obediently in the hotel. And as soon as he spoke, the others did not show any objection. Although Kibben warned them in a disguised form just now, except for Bartolomeo, the others here are not easy to provoke, so they naturally don't take each other's words seriously. Well, that's fine, everyone can move freely now. Qin Chuan spoke after thinking for a while. Then everyone left the hotel and came to the street. When they came to the main street of Orhos City, everyone realized that this place is indeed very prosperous. There was a lot of traffic on the street, and many elegantly dressed women walked arm in arm in the street, and rows of shops stood on both sides of the road. Such a magnificent scene cannot be seen in Rog Town in the East China Sea or Iluzha Town in the West China Sea. After walking on the street, Qin Chuan said that he wanted to go for a walk, and Boya Hancock, who was originally a woman, became interested immediately after seeing some jewelry stores, so he planned to separate from everyone. Seeing that Boa Hancock wanted to go shopping, Bartolomeo naturally volunteered to accompany her. And Douglas Barrett and Shaw Crocodile were not people who wanted to go shopping at all, so they decided to hang out with Qin Chuan. But Qin Chuan was worried that if something happened, the two people would not be able to make the most correct judgment, so after hesitating for a while, he still suggested that Shaw Crocodile should act together with the two people. Originally, when Lao Sha heard that he was going to be sent to go shopping with 2 guys, he was completely unwilling, but he also knew that he was in the Red Earth continent, and the 2 men had already caused a big incident on the boat. So if there is no restraint here, maybe there will be some big troubles. So he had no choice but to agree to Qin Chuan's request. In this way, the two sides separated on the street, and Qin Chuan took Douglas Barrett to another direction. As he walked, Qin Chuan inadvertently caught a glimpse of a man standing at the gate of a tavern. The next moment, his pupils dilated instantly, and the whole person froze in place. What's wrong? After seeing Qin Chuan's abnormal behavior, Douglas Barrett couldn't help asking. Go and meet alone for a while, maybe we can really directly challenge the world government in the future. Qin Chuan was overjoyed. Then, he went straight to the man. Sir, are you free for a drink or two? After walking up to the other party, Qin Chuan took the initiative to propose. And then Douglas Barrett, who came over, saw a man with short black hair, a beard around his mouth, with his eyes closed and an X-shaped scar on the left side of his forehead, wearing a lavender kimono and a black-purple sash. The man holding a stick suddenly became suspicious. Obviously, this man doesn't look like a strong man either in his attire or in his aura. Do you know me? The man still didn't open his eyes, but spoke in a very calm tone. HMPH, if you agree to my request, wouldn't we be considered acquaintances? Qin Chuan said with a smile. Haha, okay, it happens that the old man also wants to have a drink, please. After listening to these words, the man laughed, and then made a gesture of please. After the three entered the tavern, they found a relatively quiet booth and sat down. The next three people seemed to be tacitly toasting and drinking non-stop, without a word of nonsense. Douglas Barrett in particular felt baffled. After all, since Qin Chuan wanted to invite someone to drink, why didn't he even ask him a word at the wine table? And the other party is even more strange. When someone invites him to drink, he doesn't know how to say a few words of thanks. After drinking inexplicably for an entire hour, the table was completely filled with empty wine glasses. I think we're almost done drinking, why don't we just let it go? At this time, the man finally couldn't bear to mention it. Mr. Yishao, are you leaving in such a hurry? At this moment, Qin Chuan suddenly said such a sentence. As soon as the words fell, the other party's face changed slightly, and then he immediately turned his head and looked in Qin Chuan's direction. Although his eyes were still closed at this time, the scepter he had put aside at first was already in his hand again. Seeing that the atmosphere suddenly became weird, Douglas Barrett couldn't help but frown slightly. At the same time, he was also prepared to deal with sudden changes. But at this moment, Qin Chuan said again, Stop talking nonsense, you should know our identities and the purpose of our trip, right? After hearing Qin Chuan's words, Douglas Barrett on the side was even more confused. Because in his opinion, the guy in front of him was a blind man with a cane. Since he didn't see them, how could he know their identities? But at this moment, the man called Yishao finally spoke. Mr. Qin Chuan, what do you mean? Does what you want to do have anything to do with me, an ordinary person? After hearing the word Qin Chuan from the other party with his own ears, Douglas Barrett was immediately amazed. If he hadn't been on the scene the whole time, just relying on the content of the conversation between these two people in front of them, anyone would think that the two of them are old acquaintances. But only he knew that they had only known each other for an hour from now, and during this period, the two of them had no communication at all. Don't you want to change this turbid world? Especially completely eliminate the so-called Kibui system under the king? At this moment, Qin Chuan suggested again. And although his voice was not loud, it also made Douglas Barrett break out in a cold sweat on the spot. On the Red Earth continent, the Holy Land, Mary Joa actually said that she wanted to overthrow this turbid world. If others heard this, it might really cause quite a commotion. Fortunately, there were not many people in the tavern during the day, and the other guests were all buried in their own beers, not paying attention to the conversation here. After hearing Qin Chuan's words, Yishao finally opened his eyes. But even though he opened his eyes, only the whites of his eyes were exposed. Obviously, he is blind. What do you want? Let me join your team. That's right, what do you think? Hee, you want me to join your team just because of the incidents you caused outside. I'm afraid you underestimate the old man too much, don't you? Although you have made so many troubles, they are not big things in my eyes, so you can't impress me at all. Quote. At this time, Yishao also showed his cards on the spot. Obviously, what he meant by this sentence is that although you are very strong and have made a lot of noise, in his eyes, it's just small troubles, and he doesn't like it. After hearing these words, Douglas Barrett suddenly showed a trace of anger on his face. Such an inconspicuous blind man in front of him looked down on them, which made him very upset. Barrett, don't worry, this guy has the strength not to lose to the Admiral of the Navy. Although he is a bit crazy when he said these words, it still makes sense. At this moment, Qin Chuan calmly opened his mouth to defend Yi Xiao. And when he heard Qin Chuan say that the blind man in front of him actually possesses strength not inferior to that of a general, he couldn't help being surprised. Indeed, in the battle along the way, except for the two quasi-admirals in the city, he really didn't meet a powerful guy. Even in the confrontation with Sokolsky, they did not have a clear advantage. So if this guy really has the strength of an admiral right now, he can really pretend to be compared. However, Douglas Barrett is not a fuel-efficient lamp, and he naturally does not think that his strength is inferior to that of the admiral. Don't be too arrogant, the admiral is nothing to me. Douglas Barrett, although you are powerful, you don't know that there are more powerful existences in this world than admirals. By that time, you will know that your strength is far from enough. Quote. At this moment, Yi Xiao still spoke in a very peaceful tone. You mean those 5 guys? Hearing this, before Douglas Barrett could speak, Qin Chuan on the side grabbed the words. More than that, there are people above them, but I don't know the real strength of that guy, but what is certain is that since the 5 old men obeyed him so much, then he naturally has something special. At least at this stage, your strength is still unable to compete with it. A smile reminded. I know who you're talking about, that guy does look tricky, but my arrow has already left the string, so naturally it's impossible to take it back, so that's why I came here to invite you in person. I will stay here until tomorrow. If you have any ideas, welcome to find me at the Ottoman Hotel. Qin Chuan said. After hearing that Qin Chuan probably knew who the person he was referring to was, a slight change finally appeared on his smiling face. But after a while, he just nodded. Then, the 3 of them walked out of the tavern together. But as soon as they came out of the tavern, they caught a glimpse of Bartolomeo running hastily. No, something happened, Captain Qin Chuan. After seeing Qin Chuan and others, Bartolomeo immediately shouted as if seeing a savior. What happened? Seeing Bartolomeo so flustered, Qin Chuan immediately had an ominous premonition. To make this guy so anxious, they must have encountered something serious. Sure enough, Bartolomeo stopped and took a deep breath before quickly explaining. The thing is like this, when the 3 of us went to a jewelry store, suddenly, a Tianlong person also walked in. Originally, when we saw the celestial dragon, we also felt that it was best to avoid it, so Boa Hancock put down the jewelry in his hand and prepared to leave. But at this moment, the dragon man suddenly caught a glimpse of Boa Hancock, and then began to look at Boa Hancock's whole body with lewd eyes. At this moment, Boa Hancock involuntarily glared at the other party. But with just such a stare, the dragon man quit completely that day, and immediately he made his subordinates around him want to arrest Boa Hancock. But at this moment, Sha Crocodile made a move, and then he directly stopped the 2 Tianlongren's subordinates with one move. But this time, the dragon people became even more angry that day, and immediately asked people to surround them and not let them leave. And I also took advantage of this gap to sneak out to find you guys. Quote. After Bartolomeo explained for a long time, he finally explained everything clearly. After listening to him, the 3 present couldn't help frowning. Here, you can offend the admiral or even the world government, but you can't easily offend the celestial dragons. Go meet them for a while, I want to see how arrogant the Tianlong people are. Qin Chuan walked up quickly after speaking. Then others followed suit. After a while, Qin Chuan and others finally arrived at the door of the jewelry store, and at this time, there were already a lot of melon eaters gathered around. Qin Chuan directly pushed away the crowd of onlookers and walked in. After walking in, I saw several men in black handed Sha Crocodile and Boa Hancock up. And in the middle of these men in black stood a fat man with a hideous face wearing a bubble hood. After seeing this person, Qin Chuan recognized at a glance that the other person was one of the Tianlong people, Saint Charmark. Now, Qin Chuan is also very clear that today's matter will not end so easily. Sure enough, Street. Charmark took out his pistol and pointed it at Shah Crocodile without any nonsense, and immediately shot him in the head. Boom! The bullet passed through Shah Crocodile's head in an instant. And at this moment, Shah Crocodile directly elementalized his head and successfully dodged the bullet. The next moment, Shah Crocodile's head returned. But even though he was so humiliated, Shah Crocodile still just looked at the other party with cold eyes, and didn't have any plans to make a move. And Boa Hancock, who was beside him, also watched all this nervously. Meg, you are actually a devil fruit capable user, no wonder you dare to fight against me, but do you know who I am? Now I advise you to kneel down obediently to Lao Su, and then let that girl serve me for 3 days and 3 nights, otherwise, I will make you never leave here. Quote. At this time, Saint Charmark didn't feel any fear because Shah Crocodile was a devil fruit capable user, but instead threatened him viciously. After hearing these words, everyone present could not help but gasp. In the eyes of everyone, what Tianlong people want to do must be done. Especially in front of so many people, if he couldn't do what he said, wouldn't it be embarrassing for the Tianlong people? On Shah Crocodile's side, the hook on his right hand was already on his chest. Obviously, it is impossible for him to let the other party mess around. But at this moment, a voice came over. Hey, do you think you are tired of living? Do you dare to touch my people? Hearing this voice, everyone at the scene turned their gazes over. At this moment, Qin Chuan leisurely walked out of the crowd, and then came to Shah Crocodile and the others. But at this time, Charmarco Street, like the others, first glanced at Qin Chuan suspiciously, and then suddenly lowered his face and said viciously, "You dare to insult me? I don't care who you are, you must die immediately." After he finished speaking, he pulled the trigger again. But just when the bullet was about to hit Qin Chuan's body suddenly turned into countless crows and flew around. Seeing this scene, Saint Charmarco was taken aback. Just when he was about to raise his pistol to aim at the crows again, the crows disappeared in the air instantly. The next moment, he suddenly felt a chill on his back. Immediately afterwards, a figure appeared behind him. "You really want to die?" After Qin Chuan finished speaking, he directly punched him in the head. Boom! After a muffled sound, the bubble helmet on Saint Charmarco's head burst instantly, and his whole body was slammed to the ground beside him. Seeing this scene, everyone present, including the bodyguards he brought, froze in place. Everyone's faces were filled with horror. Even the well-informed Douglas Barrett and Yi Xiao watched all this dumbfounded. Qin Chuan went completely crazy. He actually shot a high-ranking Tianlong nobleman who ruled the world. And it was at the feet of the Holy Land Mary Joa. This time, the most dangerous thing happened. Beating the celestial dragons in public is tantamount to declaring war on the world government. And this is no longer something that can be resolved by sitting down and negotiating. Because in the 800-year history, anyone who took action against the Tianlongren would end badly. And Boya Hancock was obviously frightened by Qin Chuan's actions, and his mind went blank. At first she thought Qin Chuan was just joking when he said that he would take her to kill the Tianlongren. But after less than a month, he really did it in front of his own face. Although it was just a punch to the opponent, it was completely enough to shock the whole world. After all, even in the waters of the New World, all the powerful pirates have never beaten the Tianlongren. And Saint Charmarco didn't expect Qin Chuan to beat him suddenly. When he fell to the ground, he couldn't help vomiting a lot of blood, and at the same time, tears flowed down. For so many years, how could he have been wronged like this, let alone he was beaten in full view? For him who is a nobleman of Tianlong people, it is absolutely impossible to swallow this breath. Then, he endured the severe pain and stood up, then looked at Qin Chuan and said, "I want the world government to kill you. Kill me, then you die first." After Qin Chuan finished speaking, regardless of the gazes of everyone around him, he immediately rushed to Saint Charmarco again. Immediately afterwards, he kicked directly. Boom! After another muffled sound, Street Charmarco knelt down on the ground on the spot. At this moment, the scene became completely silent. Everyone seemed to be frozen in place, so quiet that it was terrifying. In the end, Saint Charmarco couldn't help but speak again. "Don't stop hitting. He hurts so much." In the face of absolute strength, even the noble Tianlong people can't hold on. After Street Charmarco said these words, there was a rush of footsteps not far away. After pushing through the crowd, Kibin saw Street Charmarco kneeling on the ground at a glance. And when he saw clearly who dared to behave wildly here, he saw those familiar faces. Qin Chuan standing in front of Saint Charmarco, and several other members of the Qin Chuan pirates not far away. At this moment, Kibin's mind was completely blank. He never expected that he would leave for such a short while, but what he was most worried about actually happened. Didn't you just say you wanted to kill me? Qin Chuan snorted coldly after pulling his hair back. Mr. Qin Chuan, Captain Qin Chuan, Brother Qin Chuan. At this time, everyone around immediately shouted at Qin Chuan in unison. Obviously, they are all worried that this guy who is not afraid of the sky and the earth really dares to kill the Tianlong people on this red earth continent. Especially Boa Hancock. This incident was actually caused by her, and she is also very clear about the consequences of Qin Chuan's actions now. If nothing else, the next negotiations will become extremely difficult. But right now Tianlongren is not dead yet, so there is still a turning point. But if Qin Chuan really wants to kill that guy, then they have to choose to flee immediately. Because it is absolutely impossible for the world government to allow the Tianlong people to be killed, and they were killed in public on the Red Earth continent. Shut up for me. After seeing everyone calling him, he suddenly yelled loudly. At this moment, he can be said to be completely domineering. And even Commodore Kibin didn't dare to say anything at this time. He wasn't afraid that Qin Chuan would beat him up after he said something, but he was really worried that Qin Chuan would kill this Tianlongren if he didn't like it. After all, a person who dared to blow up the deep-sea prison and killed those legendary pirates who were imprisoned in the Sixth Infinite Hell could do anything. And Douglas Barrett and others were also shocked by Qin Chuan's voice, and immediately everyone stopped talking. At this moment, all eyes were on Qin Chuan. Hey, let me ask you something, Street Charmarco, did you just say you wanted to kill me? At this time, Qin Chuan lowered his head again to look at the dying Charmarco Saint and asked. If you really kill me, then you will definitely not be able to escape. Although Street Charmarco didn't dare to speak harshly anymore, as a Tianlongren, he still had the last bit of stubbornness. After hearing the words of Saint Charmarco, Qin Chuan put away his smile, and then slapped him directly. Snapped. A crisp sound suddenly resounded through the entire street. And 5 red finger marks immediately appeared on the face of Saint Charmarco. This slap was not very strong, but it almost stunned Saint Charmarco, who had no combat power at all. I ask you, are you going to kill me? Immediately afterwards, Qin Chuan asked again. Me. Before Charmarco finished speaking, Qin Chuan slapped him again. Snapped. Every time Qin Chuan slapped the holy Charmarco, the hearts of all the people around him would beat violently. Even Yishao, who has always been known for his calmness, looked at all this with frown. Captain Qin Chuan, stop fighting, or something will really happen. At this time, Boa Hancock had already collapsed, and she hurried to Qin Chuan and tried to hold his hand to prevent him from doing it again. And Saint Charmarco was already slapped badly by Qin Chuan at this time. Are you scared? Qin Chuan let go of Saint Charmarco's hand, and then turned his head to look at Boa Hancock calmly. I'm not afraid, it's just that we are negotiating now. If we do this, the world government will not let us go. Boa Hancock lowered his head and replied in a low voice. Will the world government not let us go? You may be mistaken. I came here to negotiate with the world government this time because I think highly of them. If they want to fight me for a Tianlong person, then I, Qin Chuan, will stay with me to the end. Quote. As soon as Qin Chuan's words fell, his heart skipped a beat, and he immediately raised his foot. At this time, everyone realized what Qin Chuan wanted to do. Douglas Barrett and Shaw Crocodile knew very well what would happen if Qin Chuan stepped on it, so the two of them immediately rushed forward. As a navy, Kibin couldn't control that much anymore, so he also jumped on it immediately. But they were still a step too late, because Qin Chuan's killing intent had been decided, and no one could stop him. When everyone rushed to Qin Chuan's foot had already stepped hard on the face of Saint Charmarco. Boom. At this moment, Qin Chuan used the strange power in the Naruto world. All the energy of his whole body was concentrated on his right foot. And after this kick, a pothole was smashed out of the originally flat ground in an instant. Saint Charmarco's head fell directly into this pothole. This time, everyone froze in place. It never occurred to them that Qin Chuan really did it when he said he would do it. And judging from the results of everyone's visual inspection, the Tianlong people who have no fighting power will undoubtedly die this time. As a result, the atmosphere at the scene suddenly became very strange. Many onlookers around have quietly receded. On this continent, it is normal for people to die. But the death of a celestial dragon is an extremely terrifying thing for the people living in this land. Everyone didn't know what would happen next, but they knew very well that if they didn't flee the scene quickly, they might suffer along with them. Captain Qin Chuan, did you really kill someone? Shah Crocodile has dealt with the world government for many years, so he naturally knows where their bottom line is. Right now, Qin Chuan must have violated their bottom line, and there is no room for negotiation at all. Chapter 91. He said just now that he wanted to kill me. Since he said so, I'll just send him on his way. In this way, in the future, he won't suffer from not being able to kill me anymore. Qin Chuan said very calmly. At this moment, although his tone was very calm, judging from the aura exuding from him, it was so scary. After hearing Qin Chuan's words, Shah Crocker Dalton was also speechless for a while. After all, what he said was right, the other party wanted to kill him, and if he really let the Saint Charmarco go, the other party would definitely not let them go just like that. That being the case, there is nothing wrong with Qin Chuan wanting to kill someone. It's just that they haven't seen Tianlong people killed in their entire life, and they were beheaded in front of them. This scene is really shocking. At this time, Boa Hancock was still holding onto Qin Chuan's hand in a daze. She was so shocked that she was completely at a loss at this moment. But the next moment, an angry voice came out of Kibin's mouth. Come on, surround them all for me, and don't let anyone go. And this voice is from Kibin. He is a commodore and currently the highest-ranking admiral in the city of Urkoz. So no matter how strong Qin Chuan is and how big his background is right now, it is impossible for him to just let them go. Otherwise, not only he himself will be severely punished, but even the navy will be ashamed. The soldiers behind him were stunned for a moment, then quickly raised their muskets and pointed at Qin Chuan and others. At this time, Douglas Barrett and others also gathered beside Qin Chuan. For a while, the two sides confronted each other on this street. General Kibin, don't do anything, or you will die. I don't want to kill innocent people indiscriminately. Qin Chuan gently released Boa Hancock's hand, and then said calmly. Since you killed Lord Charmarco, I have no escape route. Kibin said seriously after holding the saber in his hand. HMPH, it's ridiculous, you, a commodore, actually want to kneel and lick the celestial dragon, and call him Lord Charmarco. These fools are running amok and doing evil all day long, don't tell me you don't know. Quote, all of their actions are outside my jurisdiction, so I can't deal with anything they do. In vain you wear a navy coat with justice written on it, and you can only be willing to be their lackey when facing the Tianlong people. If you really want to die, then do it. But my patience is limited. If you really want to do it, I promise to let the Navy branch base here bleed into rivers before the Admiral arrives. Quote. At this moment, Qin Chuan was also completely angry. It is impossible for the Navy to be ignorant of the behavior of the Tianlong people, but even so, they completely acquiesced to each other's behavior. This is also one of the reasons why Qin Chuan looks down on the Navy so much. After being threatened by Qin Chuan, Ji Bin really hesitated. Taking another look at the appearances of the other navies around them, it was obvious that there was a hint of panic on everyone's faces at this time. Some Navy soldiers were even trembling with their guns in hand. And these naval soldiers are all the elite among the elite, otherwise they would not have been sent to stations so close to the Holy Land of Marioa. Even they were terribly frightened, which shows how much threat Qin Chuan posed to them. After a moment of silence, Kibin finally sighed helplessly and said, please don't hurt other people in this city, please. When he fell behind, everyone on the scene breathed a sigh of relief. Obviously, he compromised. Qin Chuan won again when facing the Navy. But at this time, except for Qin Chuan, no one else was happy at all. Qin Chuan nodded, then suddenly walked to Yixiao's side and patted him on the shoulder. "Mr. Yixiao, are you going to follow me, or continue to stay here and live in a daze?" Hearing Qin Chuan's words, he smiled wryly, and then slowly said, "Mr. Qin Chuan, you killed the Tianlong people in public, and then ran over to hook me up. In this way, even if I jump into the Yellow River, I won't be able to wash it off." Quote. "Then what is your decision?" "Hey, well, since the matter is over, I will accompany you crazy for a while, and I also want to see what the new world looks like." "Haha, as expected of Mr. Yixiao, you actually know what I'm thinking. Let's go to the new world." Accompanied by Qin Chuan's laughter, the entire Qin Chuan pirates left the city of Orholes immediately. When he returned to the Red Foss, Qin Chuan immediately ordered the ship to sail to the Chambord Islands at high speed. Right now they have to rush to the seas of the New World as soon as possible, where the Navy has nothing to do with them. However, it is absolutely impossible to pass over the Holy Land of Marijoya in order to reach the sea area of the New World. So they have only one way to go, and that is to go to the Chambord Islands first and use the alkaline mangrove resin to coat the whole body of the ship with a special film. Then dive down to 10,000 meters under the sea from there, and then pass through a huge hole under the Red Continent, and then pass through the submarine line, Fishman Island before reaching the sea area of the New World. However, this road is very dangerous. The Chambord Islands themselves are under the jurisdiction of the world government, so there are many naval forces guarding them there. Moreover, the submarine line is very dangerous. A considerable number of people never come out after entering, so many people have never reached the New World sea area in their entire lives. Early the next morning, when Pelusalino, who had just escaped the storm, led the fleet and was preparing to land at the port of Oricos City, he suddenly received a call from the Navy headquarters. After picking up the phone, Pelusalino said with a satisfied face, "What's the matter?" "I've already arrived in Oricos City, and I will go to Qin Chuan and the others later." "HMPH, are you still looking for them? Don't you know what happened?" On the other end of the phone, Marshal Zhongguo's voice was terrifyingly low. Hearing Sengoku's words, Pelusalino couldn't help frowning slightly. The newspaper delivery pigeons have not delivered the newspaper all day because of the storm at sea. Why did they make any noise? Saint Charmarco is dead, and was killed by Qin Chuan. What? He killed the celestial dragon. At this moment, even Pelusalino, who had been lazy all this time, suddenly became full of energy. Obviously, this news was too shocking even for him who was accustomed to heavy wind and rain. That's right, during the day yesterday, he beheaded Saint Charmarco in public on the street, and now they have fled. What does the world government think? What do you think? Now that Marijoya is in a mess, Tianlong people have stood up to protest, demanding that the world government must take the most severe measures to ensure that Qin Chuan and his party are all captured and executed. Warring states said angrily. "Okay, I'll go to intercept them right now." Pelusalino also knew the seriousness of the matter. In fact, according to the rules and regulations between the Navy and the world government, if the Draco people are attacked, then the Navy will directly send the general to the rescue. So Pelusalino naturally took this responsibility. According to reliable sources, they have already gone to the Chambord Islands. The purpose is to enter the seabed from there and go to the New World Sea. Understood, I'll turn around now. After Pelusalino finished speaking, he hung up the phone immediately, and then sent an order. At this time, Kibin, who was still waiting on the shore, turned around and left when he saw Pelusalino's warship. All of a sudden, all the soldiers on the entire port were in a mess. "Captain Shanks, that kid seems to want to come to Chambord Islands. Can we take back the ship this time?" Jesus Bu immediately suggested after reading the newspaper. His words are correct. If we can't retake the Red Fourth, then we will become the laughingstock of the world in the future. It will be difficult for the red-haired pirates to rise again. Ben Beckman, the second in command, chimed in. The red-haired pirates who have been staying in the Chambord Islands, everyone is discussing this matter intensely at this time. But Shanks just sat there with his brows furrowed and said nothing at this time. Last night, he received a secret phone call from Wulaoshing, the highest commanding body of the world government. On the phone, the other party directly asked him to intercept him in the Chambord Islands no matter what the price was. But now Qin Chuan's prestige has reached an unprecedented height. Not to mention that before this, he led the huge combined army of the entire West Sea to easily defeat Moonlight Moria. This incident has given him a lot of prestige in Shihai. But now, he actually beheaded the nobles who ruled the world and the most hated and feared Tianlongren by all mankind. In this way, although no one around the world expressed their opinions publicly, everyone knew very well that after Qin Chuan did this, he seemed to have become a god in everyone's mind. And at this time, if he wanted to stop Qin Chuan as a pirate group, he would inevitably bear great pressure from public opinion, which he did not want to see. In addition, the members of the entire red-haired pirates are eager to find their place now, which makes him have to face Qin Chuan. After thinking about this, Shanks slowly opened his mouth. Pass down the order to strictly monitor Qin Chuan and his gang. If they really dare to board the Chambord Islands, they will notify me immediately. After listening to Shanks' words, everyone present was very excited. That is to say, Shanks will definitely fight Qin Chuan again. On the other hand, Raleigh, who was sitting in front of the bar counter, frowned. Is that old guy finally coming too? Shachi on the side handed him a glass of beer and asked softly. Yeah, I haven't seen him for more than 20 years. I don't know how his strength is. Is he still the frightening descendant of the devil? This really makes me look forward to it, Lei Li said with emotion after a wry smile. At the same time, Qin Chuan's incident once again ignited global discussions. What? Qin Chuan actually killed the Tianlong people. On the Murloc Island at a depth of 10,000 meters, Jinbei sat with Vista again. That's right, they not only killed a celestial dragon, but also started to move towards the Chambord Islands. It seems that they are going to go to the New World through the undersea tunnel here. Jinping said seriously. What does the world government say? Vista asked. No official news has been released yet, but according to practice, the world government cannot easily let them go, and will never sit down and negotiate with them again. Since this is the case, there is no need for them to fight us. It's not certain, they will definitely pass through the Fishman Island on this trip, and here, we may have to have some encounters. But right now if the agreement between him and the world government is broken, that would be a good thing for us. Jinbei analyzed again. No matter what, you must make your subordinates cheer up during this period of time, even if it is an ordinary ship, don't let it go easily. And at this time, the world government also issued the latest announcement. In the notice, first of all, the world government strongly condemned the atrocities committed by Qin Chuan and the pirates he led during this period, and also focused on the fact that they beheaded the world's noble celestial dragons in the city of Warholes. In the end, the world government decided to authorize the Navy, requiring the Navy to capture Qin Chuan and his gang back to Judicial Island for trial as soon as possible. In addition, the latest bounty of Qin Chuan and his party also appeared before the eyes of the world again. Qin Chuan, the captain of the Qin Chuan pirates, bounty, 2.5 billion berry. Douglas Barrett, a member of Qin Chuan pirates, bounty, 2 billion berry. Sand Crocodile, member of the Qinchuan pirates, bounty, 520 million berries. Boa Hancock, a member of Qin Chuan pirates, bounty, 460 million berry. Bartolomeo, a member of the Qinchuan pirates, bounty, 160 million berry. The name of Yishao did not appear in this bounty list. This is also because so far, the world government does not know who Yishao is. And before that, he hadn't participated in any actions of the Qinchuan pirates, so naturally there was no corresponding bounty. After seeing the announcement issued by the world government, Bartolomeo couldn't help complaining. What do you mean, 160 million berry? How come you both can make 4 or 500 million? He was not angry because he was wanted, but because his bounty was so low, so he was angry. Hee, what else do you want? A gang leader, if you hadn't followed us, you might still be living in that acre of land in Rog Town. Seeing that Bartolomeo seemed to be implying that his bounty was inflated, Sand Crocodile was not to be outdone. In fact, Shaw Crocodile's bounty was only a mere 81 million berry before joining Shichibukai. After that, because he had become the king's Shichibukai, the world government cancelled his arrest, and he no longer had any bounties. But now, in just 1 month, his bounty has skyrocketed to 500 million berry. Obviously, this is mainly because they beheaded the Tianlong people in the street yesterday. A pirate's bounty is actually not completely linked to his own strength, but more to see how harmful this person is to the world. If an ordinary pirate kills innocent people indiscriminately all day long, his bounty will inevitably rise in a straight line. Right now, Qin Chuan and his gang killed the Tianlong people directly, so as a person who did it himself, the bounty jumped to 2.5 billion berry. This kind of bounty looks at the whole world, and only those few guys who have been entrenched in the sea area of the New World all the year round can surpass him. What do you mean by that? I trapped Admiral Sakaski with one hand in Rog Town, otherwise you wouldn't have reached the sieve. After hearing Shaw Crocodile's words, Bartolomeo immediately satirized. HMPH, do you really think your transparent barrier is invincible? That's enough, stop arguing, don't you know the current situation? The world government has publicly announced that it will deal with us. In my opinion, it is very likely that they will send General Pelusolino to the Chambord Islands to stop us, and you are still bickering here. Quote. At this time, Douglas Barrett, who had been frowning tightly, couldn't help but yelled at the two of them. After all, Douglas Barrett was quite dignified, so after he spoke, the two of them stopped talking. But even so, Bartolomeo still looked unconvinced. Captain Qin Chuan, I don't know why you announced in front of everyone that you were going to the Chambord Islands. Although it is under the jurisdiction of the world government, it is actually a place where dragons and snakes are mixed because of the special geographical environment. Now you guys have a combined bounty of 5 billion, not to mention whether the Navy will deploy heavy troops to intercept us, there must be many pirates trying to stop us there. Quote. At this time, the silent smile on the side couldn't help asking questions. He actually didn't know why Qin Chuan would tell the whole world about his next whereabouts. Simple because I never thought we did anything wrong. And since we've done nothing wrong, why should we worry about exposing our whereabouts? Qin Chuan asked back. Originally, he really didn't have the idea of beheading the Tianlongren, but he saw Boa Hancock being molested at that time, so he couldn't help but do it. And because of the characters of these Tianlong people, Qin Chuan knew that there was no difference between killing them and injuring them. Even if he gave the other party a way to survive, the other party would definitely retaliate twice as long as he found an opportunity in the future, so he simply killed the other party without doing anything. Then what do you plan to do next? In the Chambord Islands, we don't know anyone. If we go there rashly, I'm afraid we may not be able to find someone who can code our ships in a short time. Yi Xiao also understood Qin Chuan's meaning at this time, obviously he didn't take the world government's wanted arrest seriously. Who says there are no acquaintances? Douglas Barrett's old captain is waiting for us there. Having said that, Qin Chuan deliberately glanced at Douglas Barrett beside him. Hearing Qin Chuan's words, Douglas Barrett was stunned for a moment, and then looked at Qin Chuan suspiciously. Captain, didn't Roger already? At this time, Shaw Crocodile who was on the side couldn't help but speak. I didn't say I was the captain. Vice captain, could it be Sherbaz Raleigh? Bartolomeo immediately grabbed the words. Captain Qin Chuan, how do you know that Sherbaz Raleigh will be in the Chambord Islands? Douglas Barrett asked eagerly after hearing the name. Boa Hancock also felt shocked after hearing this name. Back then, it was Layli who led them to escape from that devil's land, so she was naturally very concerned about her benefactor. I know a lot of things, and of course there are things I don't know, such as whether there are other pirates waiting for us at this time. Qin Chuan replied calmly. The Chambord Islands are made up of 79 trees, which are 79 regions in total. Since Sherbaz Raleigh is there, do you know which region he is in, Captain? Asked again with a smile. He's in Area 13. Area 13. This is the illegal place of the Chambord Islands. Hearing Qin Chuan say that Layli appeared in the 13th area, he smiled and couldn't believe it. In the entire Chambord Islands, there are a large number of human trafficking shops and human auctions in areas 1 to 29, which are veritable illegal places. This is also because this place is too close to the Fishman Island on the seabed, and the mermaids and murlocs in the Fishman Island are the most popular goods in human trafficking shops, so the human trafficking business here is extremely hot. The more chaotic the place, the more able to hide one's identity. Qin Chuan asked. After hearing Qin Chuan's words, he couldn't refute with a smile. In this way, the Qinchuan pirates successfully arrived at the outskirts of the Chambord Islands 2 days later, facing the eyes of the whole world. At this time, on the Chambord Islands, the naval soldiers in various regions are fully armed and ready for battle. Because the Chambord Islands are too large, even a powerful navy cannot completely control these 79 areas. In this way, only a small number of naval soldiers are stationed in each area. At this moment, almost all the navy soldiers are praying that the Chinchuan pirates will never land in their area. In the end, the Red Fourth docked at the port of Area 13. Because this pirate group is too conspicuous, when it docked at the port, someone immediately passed the news to the people in Area 13. Then, all forces in the entire number 13 area began to move around. Just when everyone walked into the streets of Area 13, there was a commotion not far ahead. The next moment, a group of vicious people blocked the way of Qin Chuan and others. Isn't this the Chinchuan pirates who have become famous recently? It seems that we are lucky to meet you here. That's fine, save us looking for you everywhere. At this time, a one-eyed man in the lead said excitedly. One of the man's eyes was completely covered by a military hood, and his outfit was almost exactly the same as that of the pirate leader in the film and television drama. To be honest, such a person can be called a pirate in the true sense. Behind him, dozens of pirates with big knives gathered. I found it so quickly. Douglas Barrett on the side asked suspiciously. I didn't expect that the first battle on this island would be against a group of cats and dogs. This is really disappointing. Qin Chuan couldn't help but sneer at this moment. Boy, being arrogant on the Great Route doesn't mean how capable you are. I just came back from fighting all the way in the seas of the New World. Where is the real purgatory? Quote, hearing Qin Chuan mocking him, the man grimly grinned before speaking. Ghost Eye Pirates. At this time, Boya Hancock beside Qin Chuan suddenly thought of something, and then said in shock. Ghost Eye Pirates, do you know them? Shaw Crocodile turned his head and asked curiously. The Ghost Eye Pirates are actually an old pirate group rising in the South China Sea. Their leader is the Ghost-Eyed Bags who claims to be able to communicate with human souls. And the bounty of this guy is as high as 360 million berries if I remember correctly. Explained Boa Hancock. Oh, isn't this Boa Hancock from the Lily Kingdom? Those girls caught in the Lily Kingdom back then taste really good. I don't know how the king of the Lily Kingdom is good at bed. Ha ha. Quote. Bags suddenly remembered something when he saw Boa Hancock, and then laughed profligately. After he said these words, Boa Hancock's face darkened instantly. Apparently, Bags mentioned a past event between them. What's going on? Qin Chuan also turned to look at her in doubt after hearing this. At the beginning, they fled to the daughter island of the Lily Kingdom because of a sneak attack on a naval branch base. At that time, I was accepting the appointment of the world government in the Holy Land of Marioa, so the entire 9 snake pirates were not on the island. As a result, the defense force of the entire daughter's island became very weak, which also gave them an opportunity to take advantage of it. Finally, when I rushed back, they had already snatched some of the female residents of our daughter island. Boa Hancock gritted his teeth and explained. It shouldn't be. Daughter's Island is located in the Windless Sea. How could they sneak into the Lily Kingdom? Bartolomeo asked curiously. After all, Qin Chuan and others followed the cooperation between him and Shaw Crocodile to capture the Sea Kings and let them lead them forward. Didn't I just say that? That guy's covered eye can communicate with the soul of the living body. So I guess, he must have used this move to control the Sea Kings, and then use the great power of the Sea Kings to bring them to the daughter island. Quote. After listening to Boa Hancock's words, everyone fell into deep thought. It's not the first time they have encountered such a thing as controlling the soul. Back in the West Sea, wasn't the captain of the terrifying 3-sailing boat, Moonlight Maria, the shadow that could control people? However, Moonlight Moria extracted the shadow of a person and then manipulated it, while this, ghost-eyed, Bags seemed to be able to directly control the soul of the opponent. If this is the case, then the degree of horror of the two is completely different. Control the soul. Bartolomeo, don't you always think your bounty is too low? This time, I'll let you show off the limelight. If you can successfully defeat the guy with a bounty of more than 300 million berry, then your bounty should reach a height of 400 to 500 million without any accidents. Quote. Hearing this, Qin Chuan snorted softly, and then turned to look at Bartolomeo who was standing not far from him. After being ordered by Qin Chuan, Bartolomeo did not show any signs of timidity, but at this moment his eyes were already filled with a strong desire to fight. Then, he slowly walked to the other side's group with arrogant steps. Today, my uncle will accompany you to have a good time. HMPH, sending such a small character out to deal with me, it seems that you really don't take my ghost eye pirates seriously. Seeing the other party despise him so much, Beggs couldn't help becoming slightly angry. Captain, would it be a bit too much for him to fight alone? Boa Hancock also asked in a low voice at this time. She also knew the opponent's strength to some extent, and at the same time roughly understood the ability of Bartolomeo's devil fruit. Obviously, Bartolomeo's devil fruit doesn't seem to have much effect on the opponent. Let him give it a try, just to see what kind of weird abilities that guy has. Chin Chuan said with narrowed eyes. In fact, he also knows very well that if it is true as Boya Hancock said, then this Beggs may really have the same ability to create illusions as the Sharingan in the Naruto world. If this is the case, then Bartolomeo may not be able to beat the opponent at all. At this time, he also secretly decided in his heart that if the other party really possessed such an ability, then he could only sacrifice the Uchiha Itachi character card again. At this moment, the front has already made a move. When Beggs gave an order, all the pirates behind him raised their weapons and rushed towards Bartolomeo. Cut, a bunch of trash. Bartolomeo immediately made a common's fingers gesture. The next moment, a transparent square protective barrier appeared in front of him. Then, he suddenly spread his hands apart. Then, the transparent barrier suddenly sprinted forward at extreme speed. Boom! Like a bulldozer, the transparent barrier shoveled up all the members of the Ghost Eye Pirates along the road. And Beggs also quickly dodged to the side at the first time. But although he had already dodged, more than half of his subordinates had been killed or injured in an instant. In the blink of an eye, the ground was already covered with corpses, and the corpses of members of the Ghost Eye Pirates were everywhere. These casualties are also the damage caused by Bartolomeo's Devil Fruit move, Barrier Bull Run. Judging from the first round of the contest, it is clear that Bartolomeo has already taken a clear advantage. After seeing this scene, Bartolomeo couldn't help showing a smug smile. But at this moment, Beggs, who was not far ahead, finally took action. I saw him take off his marching blindfold. The next moment, an extremely terrifying eye appeared in everyone's field of vision. Beggs' right eyeball turned out to be light green in color. Then, his light green eyeball suddenly spun at high speed, and then, a strange smile appeared on the corner of Beggs' mouth. Bartolomeo, who was originally smug, suddenly froze at this moment. Immediately, his whole body began to tremble violently. Seeing this scene, everyone was shocked except Chin Chuan. At this moment, Beggs suddenly exerted his strength, and immediately rushed to Bartolomeo with a stride. But Bartolomeo just stood there stupidly, not even opening the protective barrier he relied on for survival. The next moment, everyone watched as Bartolomeo was punched directly in the face by Beggs. Boom! A muffled sound. Bartolomeo flew backwards, and finally smashed directly into an ordinary residential building. Suddenly, this ordinary building collapsed. Billowing thick smoke rose, and everyone outside couldn't immediately see all the movements inside, so they didn't know what was going on with Bartolomeo. At this time, Shaw Crocodile wanted to deal with the ghost-eyed Beggs, but was suddenly blocked by a wooden stick knife. What you up to? Shaw Crocodile actually didn't approve of this smile from the very beginning, especially when he knew that this smile had the strength of an admiral. He distrusted the other party even more. After all, in this world, if someone really has such great strength, how could it be possible to live in obscurity for so many years? Seeing that the other party blocked him right now, Shaw Crocodile immediately said with a displeased face. Boy, you all stand back, that guy has a problem with his eyes. If I'm not wrong, his eyeballs should be able to release some kind of special radioactive substance. This substance can temporarily paralyze the opponent's brain nerves, making the opponent's consciousness confused, and this will cause the body to be out of control. And to break his devil fruit move, it's actually quite simple, that is, you don't need to meet his eyes. If it is as the old man guessed, then it would be most appropriate for a blind man like me to deal with him. Quote. At this time, with a smile, he could see through the opponent's devil fruit ability in a few words. Hearing this, Qin Chuan also trembled in his heart, and then looked at him with a look of approval and smiled. Although Yi Xiao's words are not necessarily correct, at least his theoretical direction is not wrong. Even if it is the strongest illusion in the Naruto world, as long as the opponent does not look directly at him, he will not fall into the illusion. And Yi Xiao has always relied on his strong perception ability to fight, so even if he doesn't have eyes, it doesn't hurt. At this time, although Sha Crocodile didn't quite believe Yi Xiao's words, he still turned his head to look at Qin Chuan, as if he wanted to ask Qin Chuan's opinion. I saw that Qin Chuan just nodded his head lightly at this time, meaning to let Yi Xiao do it. Seeing this scene, Sha Crocodile didn't say anything, and then took a step back. And with a smile, he nodded towards Qin Chuan slightly, and then slowly walked towards Bags in front of him holding a stick knife. Right now, Bags' confidence has greatly increased after defeating Bartolomeo with one move, but now after seeing a blind man, instead of being happier, a trace of panic began to appear on his face. Obviously, no one knows the weakness of his devil fruit better than him. Afterwards, Yi Xiao said in a very calm tone, "Take my move, if you can still stand up, the old man loses." After hearing Yi Xiao's words, Bags' slightly flustered expression suddenly became relaxed. "Haha, Mr. Bags, is this old man too arrogant? He actually said that he wants to defeat you with one move. Lord Bags, kill them quickly to avenge our brothers." At this time, the other surviving Ghost Eye pirate figures booed beside them one after another. And even Bags himself couldn't help showing a hint of contempt after hearing Yi Xiao's words. "Old man, no one in this world dares to say such words to me. Didn't you hear it now?" After speaking with a smile, he slowly raised the scepter in his hand. "Okay, I want to see how powerful your move is, so go to hell." After Bags finished speaking, his eyes rolled again at high speed. It's just that this time, Yi Xiao didn't make any changes at all, but still stood there calmly. The next moment, Bags rushed up again. Still the same routine. But at this moment, Yi Xiao finally moved. He suddenly and quickly raised the scepter in his hand. At this moment, his palm and the entire scepter were instantly filled with a large amount of black and purple aura. Gravity Knife Tiger. After Yi Xiao uttered these words, the scepter in his hand slashed fiercely through the black and purple aura. The black and purple aura on the scepter roared like a purple tiger and shot towards Bags, who was rushing forward at a high speed. Along the way, the purple tiger created by Yi Xiao split the hard stone slabs of the road instantly. Bags was also taken aback when he saw this, so he hurriedly raised his fist and swung towards the purple tiger. Boom! The breath of the purple tiger hit Bags' fist hard. The powerful shock wave spread out in an instant, and everyone around turned their heads away immediately. And when everyone turned their heads again, everyone froze in place. I saw that Bags just fell in front of Xiao Xiao. This is winning. The corners of Sha Crocodile's mouth twitched after seeing this scene, and then he whispered something. At the same time, Douglas Barrett finally understood why Qin Chuan said that this guy had the strength not to lose to the Admiral. Because obviously, he could feel that Yi Xiao didn't use his full strength. Then, with a smile, he put the scepter on Bags' head and said lightly, "It seems that the pirates in the New World are no more than that." After hearing this sentence, Bags finally couldn't help but spit out a mouthful of blood. Until then, he finally understood the gap in strength between himself and the Qin Chuan pirates and others, and then hurriedly begged for mercy. "Yes, I'm sorry, I was overreaching, please, let me go." And when Bags said such words, the pirates of the Ghost Eye pirates behind him were also completely stunned. The next moment, all the members of the Ghost Eye pirates knelt down like a conditioned reflex. The myth they believed in was defeated by the other party, which made them dare not have any thoughts of resistance anymore. Captain Qin Chuan, what to do with this guy? Yi Xiao didn't reply to his words, but turned to look at Qin Chuan not far away. Captain Qin Chuan, please give me a way to survive. Give me a reason not to kill you. I can be your crew member, and I am very familiar with the waters of the New World. If I lead the way, you will definitely feel a lot easier. Seeing that he seemed to have a chance of surviving, Bags also completely abandoned his dignity at this time, and immediately spoke again. "Oh, that's it, I'm sorry, I don't need trash. Kill him." As soon as Qin Chuan finished speaking, he smiled and quickly threw his scepter directly on Beg's head. He doesn't hate pirates very much, but he cares more about people's livelihood. Right now, this Beg's looks like a pirate with many crimes, so killing him is no burden for Yi Xiao at all. Beg's head was slammed, and blood gushed out of his head in an instant. This scene was extremely scary, and even Boa Hancock, who was used to seeing life and death, couldn't help frowning. "Why are you still standing there? I will kill the rest of the pirates." At this moment, Qin Chuan suddenly turned around, looked at the other people around him, and said abruptly. After receiving Qin Chuan's order, Douglas Barrett didn't hesitate at all. With the help of the ground, he got a boost from his legs and rushed towards the ghost-eyed pirates who were still kneeling in front of him like phantoms. All of a sudden, wailing and begging for mercy came from the crowd of ghost-eye pirates. At the same time, Shaw Crocodile and Boa Hancock followed in the next moment. Although the number of ghost-eye pirates is large, the crew on Qin Chuan's side are 1 against 100. So in the blink of an eye, the streets of the entire number 13 area were already filled with blood. At this time, Bartolomeo, who was covered in scars, had several holes in his jacket, and his face was bruised and purple, slowly crawled out of the collapsed house. When he came out, he was stunned for a moment when he saw the streets strewn with corpses and the lifeless Begs. Afterwards, Bartolomeo walked up to Qin Chuan and the others with his head down. Obviously, he was knocked out by Begs just now. And when he was knocked out, the others had already beheaded that guy. This result made him very frustrated. But Qin Chuan patted him on the shoulder and said with a smile, "Don't be depressed, I sent you out to test the opponent's devil fruit ability. Among those of us, except for Yi Xiao, everyone else may have the same result." Quote. Bartolomeo was still very depressed at first, but after hearing Qin Chuan's comfort, his eyes suddenly brightened, and the depression on his face instantly disappeared without a trace. Although this is an illegal place and there is no permanent naval force stationed here, but after all we have made such a big commotion, someone must have reported it to the naval forces stationed in other areas. So I think we'd better hurry and find Mr. Raleigh. Quote. At this time, Yi Xiao returned to Qin Chuan and the others, and then took the initiative to ask. In fact, he was not very interested in meeting Raleigh. The main reason for them to leave quickly was that he didn't want to meet the Navy soldiers in these places. The two sides are currently in a hostile relationship. If they meet here, a bloody battle will inevitably be inevitable, and the injured will definitely be naval soldiers. But at this moment, Qin Chuan glanced at a very ordinary room on the side, and then slowly said, "Since everyone is here, why don't you come out and meet?" After hearing Qin Chuan's words, everyone was shocked. But just when Douglas Barrett and the others were about to speak, the door of the room next to them was kicked and flew out. The door flew towards Qin Chuan who was standing on the street, but at the next moment, Douglas Barrett who was beside Qin Chuan took the first step and punched the door to the ground. Then Shanks, who broke his arm, came out of the room first. After seeing the red-haired Shanks himself, except for Qin Chuan and Douglas Barrett who had met before, everyone else was involuntarily stunned. Even the already extremely powerful Yi Xiao couldn't help but clench the scepter in his hand when he saw Shanks. As for Bartolomeo, he swallowed and subconsciously took 2 steps back. And this is the coercion from the strong. After Shanks came out, several crew members under him also followed. The enemy was extremely jealous when they met, and as soon as the other party came out, they looked straight at Qin Chuan. But Qin Chuan looked at Shanks in front of him calmly. "Hey, take it easy." Seeing Shanks' serious face, Qin Chuan smiled and said. As soon as Qin Chuan finished speaking, Shanks raised his right hand, and the famous sword, Griffin, in his hand was instantly unsheathed. The next moment, both sides made preparations for battle immediately. The battle is about to start. At this moment, the atmosphere on the scene was oppressive and breathless. Even the ordinary residents hiding in the bungalows felt short of breath when they saw this scene through the windows. And both sides of the confrontation are also figures who once dominated one side. Even in the face of a fierce battle that may come, there is no fear on everyone's face. Are you trying to get back on the field, or are you trying to get your ship back? Qin Chuan still asked with a calm attitude. I want both, Shanks responded forcefully. I just killed a group of pirates who came back from the New World. In fact, I really don't mind killing another big pirate who has shocked the New World. After Qin Chuan finished saying this, the aura of his whole body was released instantly. And at this time, Qin Chuan once again possessed the Uchiha Itachi character card. Shank's strength made Qin Chuan take it seriously. Right now, the most effective card in his hand is Uchiha Itachi's Sharingan. However, activating unlimited monthly reading would hurt the eyes, so Qin Chuan decided not to actively use illusion unless it was absolutely necessary. And the reason why he is now confident that he can repel the Shanks pirates without illusion is mainly because they have just joined a powerful combat force, Smile. So judging from the overall strength of both sides, Qin Chuan's side is enough to crush the Shanks pirates. And Shanks also seemed to have noticed that the new face next to Qin Chuan was not easy to deal with, so he was not in a hurry to take the initiative at the moment. For a while, the two sides were deadlocked in place. Especially in such an important battle, if the captains of both sides don't attack first, it is absolutely impossible for their subordinates to take the initiative. If you don't dare to do it, then let me break the deadlock first. The Art of Dragon Fire. Seeing that Shanks had no intention of making a move, Qin Chuan took the initiative to break the tranquility. Similarly, Qin Chuan first came to explore the way with an ordinary B-level ninjutsu. The next moment, he opened his mouth, and then spit out a huge fire dragon from his mouth and rushed towards Shanks in front. And just when Shanks was about to raise the western sword to stop him, suddenly a white figure blocked him from not far away at the speed of almost light. Then, under everyone's attention, the white figure held a long sword and slashed towards the roaring fire dragon. The roaring fire dragon was instantly cut in half when it touched the sharp long sword. At this moment, everyone stared wide-eyed at the white figure in front of them. Rayleigh. Then, Raleigh's old comrade in arms, Douglas Barrett took the lead in breaking the silence of the scene. And the one who blocked Qin Chuan's attack just now was one of the legendary pirates, Sir Baz Raleigh. If seeing Shanks wasn't shocking enough, Boa Hancock was almost out of breath when he saw Sir Baz Raleigh, the vice-captain of the Roger Pirates. Long time no see, Barrett. Sir Baz Raleigh put away the long sword in his hand, raised his eyes and smiled. Seeing Rayleigh make a move in person, the situation for both parties is even more embarrassing. Originally under Qin Chuan's active attack, everyone was ready to fight here. But now after seeing Rayleigh coming over, the whole situation suddenly became confusing. If there is no Douglas Barrett on Qin Chuan's side, then Raleigh's shot this time is likely to help Shanks and his gang. But right now because of the existence of Barrett, it is unlikely that Raleigh will draw his sword against his former teammate. In this way, it is very important which side Rayleigh, who has a strong combat power, leans on. Even Qin Chuan, who was extremely confident, couldn't guarantee that if Rayleigh stood on the opposite side, whether they would still be able to completely defeat each other. According to my reliable information, Admiral Pelusalino is already approaching the Chambord Islands. Not only that, the Admiral Sakaski of the Navy headquarters has also left Marin Fando with several warships. Obviously, they are all coming for you. Quote. At this moment, Rayleigh suddenly looked at Qin Chuan in front of him and said in a deep voice. Are you kindly reminding me, or scaring me? In the current situation, Qin Chuan didn't know what Rayleigh's intention was, so his tone was not so friendly at the moment. There are my crew members on both sides, and I, the former deputy captain, naturally don't want you to kill each other. Rayleigh said in a deep voice. Hearing Rayleigh's words, the rest of the people present breathed a sigh of relief. When he said this, it meant that he didn't intend to favor any side. In this case, it may be a little tricky. The red-haired guy behind you wants to get back his place in his pirate ship. But now I don't want to embarrass myself, and I don't want to return the only pirate ship, so things are still more difficult. Qin Chuan said quietly. Qin Chuan's attitude is also very clear at this time. It is absolutely impossible to get back the place in the ship. Mr. Raleigh, get out of the way, I'm going to make a deal with him here. Shanks also took the initiative to speak at this time. He was not a timid person. Although he had experienced Qin Chuan's terrifying power before, after talking with Rayleigh in depth, he felt that he had found a way to break Qin Chuan's illusion. Especially now that it was a big melee again, he really didn't believe that Qin Chuan would dare to let him fall into an illusion under such circumstances. Forget it this time. If you want to fight, don't do it here, even if it's to save face, how about it? Seeing that neither side seemed to have any intention of stopping, Lei Li said again in a deep voice. At the same time, a powerful coercion spread rapidly from his body in an instant. For a moment, everyone on the entire street felt this invisible pressure. After feeling the pressure from Lei Li, Qin Chuan was also startled. Obviously, this is the domineering look on Lei Li. And he was able to perfectly release the domineering aura, which shows that he has mastered the domineering aura in his body. Captain, why don't you save me today? At this time, Douglas Barrett on the side couldn't help but speak. After all, Lei Li was his former captain. At this juncture, since the other party had already opened his mouth, if Qin Chuan insisted on doing something, then his face would be tarnished. Seeing that Douglas Barrett had already said that, Qin Chuan couldn't say anything more, and Dang even said, since everyone has said that, it would be a little unreasonable for me to want to do something. But how do you plan to resolve our grievances? Quote, at this time, Qin Chuan threw the problem to Lei Li. Since he wanted to be a peacemaker, he had to settle the dispute between the two sides. It's very simple. Return the Red Fourth to Shanks and the others, and as compensation, I will personally send you a large ship. Although this ship may not be comparable to the Red Foss, it will definitely not be any worse. Quote. After hearing Lei Li's words, Qin Chuan was also a little moved. After all, he snatched the Red Fourth in a hurry. In fact, he didn't like to occupy other people's things all the time. It's just that he didn't have a suitable pirate ship to replace him all the way, so he can only use it temporarily. And now that Raleigh is willing to provide them with a brand new ship, he is naturally willing to return the Red Fourth. Plus it's a two-edged deal. Because if Qin Chuan took the initiative to return the Red Fourth, then for other people who don't know where it is, they will obviously guess that it must be that Qin Chuan had to return the ship under the pressure of Shanks. In this way, although Shanks failed to defeat Qin Chuan head-on, he somehow regained a little face. Therefore, the most important thing about such a proposal is whether Qin Chuan is willing to accept it or not. Sure enough, when Rayleigh finished speaking, Shanks on the side didn't have any objection, but looked at Qin Chuan on the opposite side with sharp eyes. Obviously, he was also waiting for Qin Chuan's reply. As for Qin Chuan, everyone also looked at him. If Qin Chuan rejects Lei Li's proposal, then this negotiation will end unhappy, and it is very likely that they will have to face the siege of the red-haired pirates and Lei Li. Therefore, Qin Chuan's next words will indirectly determine everyone's future fate. After a moment of silence, a smile appeared on Qin Chuan's originally calm face. Since you, a senior, have said so, and my crew members are old friends with you, then I reluctantly agree. But then again, if the boat you gave me has water leaks, etc., then I don't mind going to the bar of your old friend to talk to you in person. Quote. At this time, Qin Chuan said meaningfully. After hearing Qin Chuan's words, it was Lei Li's turn to be surprised. He and Shachi have been hiding their names here for many years, except for a few old crew members, no one knows about it. Even Shanks, one of his former subordinates, found out about it after many inquiries. But now Qin Chuan actually knows where he is hiding. At this moment, Raleigh involuntarily looked at Douglas Barrett beside him. And Douglas Barrett's face was full of question marks at this time. Seeing that his old crew seemed to be unaware of this matter, Lei Li turned his head to look at Qin Chuan. Why, are you surprised that I know your hiding place? Do you want me to tell you more about you? Quoted old Lei. After hearing Qin Chuan's last words, Lei Li couldn't help but twitched. Quoted Lao Lei is what ordinary people who work with him call him, and even Shachi doesn't know his special name. But Qin Chuan was able to know his title. Not only that, he can be sure that Qin Chuan has just set foot on the 13th area today. That is to say, it is absolutely impossible for Qin Chuan to come to Chambord Islands to inquire about him before this. As a result, Lei Li also became interested in Qin Chuan's identity. At first, when Shanks told him that Qin Chuan knew illusion, he didn't pay much attention to it, but when he saw it today, Qin Chuan really had a different personality charm. Even with countless experiences, he has only met someone with the same charisma as Qin Chuan in his life. But that guy has been executed by the Navy. Qin Chuan, you are really interesting, you are indeed the guy who dared to kill Tianlongren. Lei Li replied with narrowed eyes. And as soon as he said this, Qin Chuan immediately understood what he meant, that is, the matter about him would stop here. Afterwards, the two returned to Shaqi's tavern conveniently. Shaqi was still sitting on the bar and smoking a cigarette, but when she saw Lei Li leading such a large group of people in, she couldn't help but blame her immediately. Rayleigh, you really want me to die? The bounties of these guys have exceeded tens of billions. The other guy caused such a big commotion in the 13th area just now. Are you really afraid that the Navy and other forces will find you? Not here. As the intelligence leader, Shaqi knew the news immediately after killing the Ghost Eye pirates with a smile. So now seeing Qin Chuan and others coming in, he couldn't help but yell. The same is true for the red-haired pirates. After all, Shaqi took them in because they came here secretly, and not many outsiders knew about it. But now the two sides have completely exposed their identities. If there is no accident, the naval garrisons of the Chambord Islands have already started to act. Haha, it doesn't matter, I have been exposed since the time I shot it. Although this is not the base of the Navy, you should know that the Navy has eyeliner all over these areas. Especially during this period of time, our place has been so lively, I am afraid that we have been targeted by the Navy. And as for why they have been afraid to come to the door, it is probably waiting for reinforcements. Rayleigh couldn't help joking after sitting down. Hearing Lei Li's words, Shaqi curled her lips, and then began to smoke on her own. Indeed, just as Raleigh guessed, when Shanks and others entered Shaqi's tavern, the eyeliner placed here by the world government immediately reported the situation to the 5 old stars. The only thing that Raleigh guessed wrong was that the eyeliner was not placed by the Navy, but the legendary CP9 organization. CP9 is a secret intelligence agency directly under the world government. The entire organization is strictly managed, and all personnel appointments must be approved by the top level of the world government. Even the Navy headquarters doesn't know how many members there are in this secret spy agency. Therefore, ordinary people cannot enter CP9 to work at all. This is also one of the reasons why CP9 was able to plant eyeliner here without being discovered by anyone. When the information was passed to the commander of CP9, Spandam, he immediately reported the information to Wu Laosheng. After all, this matter not only involves the great pirate Shanks, but also involves that Silbaz Raleigh who has been incognito for many years. It's just that what he doesn't know is that Shanks actually has some kind of connection with Wu Laosheng. So when Wu Laosheng learned that the red-haired Shanks actually went to look for Rayleigh, he was also taken aback. Originally, they just let CP9 continue to monitor Shanks and Rayleigh, and wanted to see what their intentions were when they met. However, Qin Chuan suddenly beheaded the noble Tianlongren on the Red Earth Road, and then said without hesitation that he was going to the Chambord Islands and from there to the New World Sea. In this way, Wu Laosheng couldn't sit still at all. They first contacted the red-haired Shanks through a dark line and asked him to stop Qin Chuan. Then just in case, I still told the news to Admiral Sengoku of the Navy headquarters. The warring states immediately held a high-level meeting after receiving the news. This time the high-level meeting is not even qualified for the Vice Admiral, and only 5 people from the entire Navy, including Sengoku, Kuzan, Sakazuki, and Karp, participated. In this meeting about discussing how to encircle and suppress the Chinchuan pirates, Sakazuki, who was the main combat faction, had the absolute upper hand. And he was once again authorized to lead the naval fleet to the Chambord Islands to help Pelusalino fight together. However, this time, Sakazuki did not drive the fleet to the Chambord Islands, but to the Holy Land of Marioa on the Red Earth continent. Mr. Raleigh, I'm sorry, I've got you all involved this time. At this time, after hearing the conversation between Shaqi and Rayleigh, Shanks on the side said with a little apology. This is actually not a bad thing. When Shanks finished speaking, Qin Chuan, who was sitting on the other side, suddenly said this sentence. What's the meaning? After hearing Qin Chuan's astonishing words, Shaqi immediately looked at Qin Chuan suspiciously. And other people present also looked over. Mr. Raleigh, with your strength, you are absolutely capable of making a contribution to changing the world, just like when you helped Fisher Tiger save many people from the Holy Land of Marijoa. When Qin Chuan mentioned this passed in front of Boya Hancock again, Lei Li and Shaqi at the scene looked at each other in astonishment. Obviously, this matter is extremely secretive, but Qin Chuan seems to know something, which makes them even more curious about Qin Chuan's identity. Qin Chuan, you seem to know something. Shachi asked again after puffing out the smoke ring. Haha, it's nothing, I really don't know much about you. After all, you haven't done anything big for more than 20 years. But because of this, I think it may not be a bad thing to move you to the stage this time. At least now, Mr. Raleigh, you can no longer stay here calmly and drink and live an ordinary life. Qin Chuan laughed. In fact, he really didn't know much about Raleigh's later events. Boy, are you trying to drag me into the water? At this time, Lei Li suddenly frowned slightly, and at the same time, there was already a bit of murderous intent in his eyes. After everyone saw this scene, the atmosphere on the scene instantly became tense again. At this moment, several people behind Qin Chuan began to be on guard again, for fear that an inattentive opponent would take the lead and seize the opportunity. Would you agree if I said I wanted to invite you on board? At this moment, Qin Chuan threw out another explosive bullet. And this news also scared Shanks, who had been paying attention to all this on the opposite side. If Lei Li really chooses the Qinchuan pirates, then for a long time to come, the Qinchuan pirates may rule the entire sea area of the New World. Because for now, apart from their captains, none of the three deepest pirate groups in the seas of the New World can contend with monsters like Rayleigh and Douglas Barrett. And the most important point, when he was in the private house, he also clearly felt that the blind Yishao's strength should not be underestimated. Although he didn't know how Qin Chuan found him, it was obvious that the people who could get on his boat were not just for nothing. Hehe, I will not join any pirate group. If I want to join, I will only choose Roger Pirates. Raleigh said slowly after snorting. Don't make a decision too quickly, you haven't seen some things yet, so don't be too judgmental. Oh, what do you want me to see? I will show you something that will overturn the world. At that time, you will offer to board my ship. Qin Chuan replied lightly with a very confident tone. HMPH, is there such a thing as killing a celestial dragon? Sorry, I'm not interested in it. In addition, if you really want to kill, there are often celestial dragons in areas 1 to 29. You can go around for a while. Rayleigh said disapprovingly. Although Tianlong people or world nobles, in the eyes of Lei Li and others, they are no different from ordinary people, but if the other party does not take the initiative to provoke him, he does not want to get himself into trouble. Haha, a mere celestial dragon, if you kill it, you will kill it. This is just an appetizer. When I rule the entire pirate world and build a powerful empire in the sea area of the New World, you will understand me. It's all said and done now. You also want Roger's treasure? Raleigh asked rhetorically after hearing this. No, I want the whole world. At this moment, Qin Chuan once again showed his arrogance. If someone had said these words in front of Rayleigh so arrogantly before this, he would have ridiculed and hit him mercilessly. But now, after a young man in his early 20s said this, he didn't have any desire to mock the other party. It can even be said that his heart has been shaken a little. Because the man in front of him is too similar to the guy who dominated the entire sea back then, and also has the potential to surpass him faintly. At this point, Lei Li really began to believe what Qin Chuan said just now. Hey, you haven't even defeated us yet, understand? At this moment, an unharmonious voice broke the atmosphere of the scene. Everyone turned their heads and saw that the speaker was Ben Beckman of the Red Hair Pirates. Obviously, as the deputy captain of the red-haired pirates, he must always remind everyone that the red-haired pirates have not been defeated by anyone. Otherwise, the entire pirate group will face an unexpected crisis. At this moment, he is here to solemnly emphasize this matter. One is to build confidence for the crew, and the other is to express the position of the entire red-haired pirate group. There will be a day, but not now. Besides, Mr. Raleigh, I don't want to talk too much nonsense. I can get the ship in a few days. Qin Chuan smiled after raising the corner of his mouth. I'll go to coat the ship tonight. If there are no accidents, you can set off tomorrow morning. Raleigh explained. Tomorrow, it looks like I might really have to fight the general again. After hearing Lei Li's words, Qin Chuan said thoughtfully. And because the two sides were not on the same page, and in order not to hurt Rayleigh and Shachi, Shanks and others said goodbye to them and left the tavern. Apparently, he was going to take over the Red Foss pirate group that was docked at the port. In addition, because Red Hair has a very wide network of contacts in the world, he can find someone in the Chambord Islands to coat his ships. So naturally he wouldn't wait here to let Rayleigh help. After all the red-haired pirates left, the atmosphere at the scene finally eased a lot. Bartolomeo, Boa Hancock and the others, who were tense all the time just now, can finally breathe a sigh of relief. But when night falls, the entire Chambord Islands is undercurrent surging. At 10 o'clock in the night, a huge warship slowly arrived at the port in Area 13 of the Chambord Islands. And near the port, many naval soldiers have gathered. Then, a man wearing a navy, justice, overcoat and a yellow suit jumped from the deck. Report, General Pelusalino, Chin Chuan and his group are drinking in a tavern on the street, and our people have been watching them nearby. At this time, a Navy soldier stepped forward to salute the other party, and then said respectfully, "HMPH, these guys don't pay attention to me. Is there any news from Sakaski?" After hearing the other party's report, Pelusalino also knew that although he was a general, he was still a natural type devil fruit ability user. But there are a lot of people on the other side now, especially since he just received information from the Warring States period. At this time, there are not only the Chinchuan pirates in the entire Area 13, but also the red-haired pirates and the legendary man. So at present, it may be difficult to pose too much threat to the Chinchuan pirates with one's own strength. Admiral Sokolsky doesn't seem to be coming here, the Navy soldier said falteringly. What? After hearing this, Pelusalino frowned slightly. According to our monitoring in the outer waters of the Chambord Islands, no naval warships have been found within hundreds of nautical miles. After listening to the other party's report, Pelusalino became puzzled. Marin Fando is not far from the Chambord Islands themselves. If Sakaski set off yesterday, he should be infinitely close to the Chambord Islands at this moment. However, the naval forces currently stationed in the Chambord Islands have not found Sakaski at all. Then there is only one possibility: Sakaski didn't want to come to the Chambord Islands at all. That guy didn't go to the New World ahead of time, did he? Pelusalino murmured to himself. At the same time, on another huge warship, a middle-aged man wearing a navy, justice, coat and a red suit was standing on the deck and staring at the Holy Land Marie Joya not far ahead. Report, General Sakarsky, the customs clearance documents have been obtained, and the world government has allowed us to pass through the Holy Land of Marieoa from here, please disembark now. After trotting all the way over, a Navy soldier also spoke very respectfully. For these soldiers, the Admiral is like a towering mountain, so unattainable. How is the arrangement at the G1 branch? The fleet of the G1 branch is already waiting for us at the entrance of the New World. As long as we pass through the Holy Land of Mariejoa and land safely, they will meet us as soon as possible. Well, let's go. After hearing these words, Sakaski stepped off the warship. He was indeed as Pelusalino had guessed. After leaving Marin Fando, he did not implement the combat plan at the high-level meeting of the Navy headquarters at all. Sakaski, who was extremely confident and trying to regain the face he lost in Rog Town, immediately ordered the warship to turn around and head for the Red Earth continent. There are only two ways to enter the New World on the Great Route. Now that Chin Chuan and others have gone to my Chambord Islands, they can only enter the New World through the undersea tunnel. And he is the Admiral of the Navy, and he is ordered by the world government to catch the pirates, so he can naturally apply to cross directly from the Holy Land of Mariejoa, the peak of the Red Continent. But in this case, they will have to abandon the ship and take special transportation. Therefore, Sakaski asked to be stationed in the New World waters, and the G1 branch of the Navy, which was responsible for the security of the entire New World waters, immediately dispatched warships to pick him up. At this moment, the base chief of the G1 branch is the Lieutenant General Weasel, who he personally named and asked to go to encircle and suppress the Chinchuan pirates together. Lieutenant Admiral Weasel is actually one of the few main combat factions among the senior generals of the entire Navy headquarters. Coupled with his poor performance in the previous battle in Rog Town, the Weasel immediately led a huge fleet to the entrance of the New World Sea to pick up the Sokolsky It. But in this way, Pelusalino fell into a very embarrassing situation. As an admiral, now that he has landed in the Chambord Islands, it is impossible for him to turn around and leave at this time. And now it was late at night, if he wanted to request support from the headquarters would send reinforcements to the Chambord Islands as soon as tomorrow morning. But even then, it took a full 2 days. So this plan is not advisable at all. Up to now, he can only go to meet the Chinchuan pirates alone for a while. Thinking of this, Pelusolino said in a deep voice, "Lead the way. Don't you need to check with the Navy headquarters about Admiral Sokolsky's movements?" Seeing that Pelusolino didn't seem to want to wait for reinforcements but wanted to go it alone, the Navy soldier swallowed and asked in a low voice. "It's enough to have me, a gang of rabble, do we still need so many admirals? If 2 admirals need to be present in person to capture a pirate group, wouldn't we be so busy?" Hearing that the soldiers around him also seemed to find it difficult for them to cope with this battle, Pelusolino's expression darkened immediately. No, General Pelusolino, please follow me." The soldier was taken aback by Pelusolino's expression, and cold sweat broke out on his forehead in an instant. Afterwards, a group of naval soldiers followed Pelusolino to the streets of Area 13. After passing the place where the Chinchuan pirates and the Ghost Eye pirates were fighting during the day, Pelusolino suddenly stopped in his tracks. Looking at the nearby houses that had collapsed due to the battle, Pelusolino asked calmly, "How long did Bags of the Ghost Eye pirates resist?" "1 round, said the naval soldier beside him tremblingly. "What?" Pelusolino turned around and looked at the other party in disbelief. Really, General Pelusolino, our people saw it clearly in the vicinity. The middle-aged man in the purple robe and holding the scepter only made one hand. As a result, Bags fell directly in front of him, and never stood up again." Quote, after listening to the other party's words, Pelusolino's heart was already turbulent. Although Bags' bounty is not high, he is actually quite well known in the New World, especially when he once made a fuss about the G5 branch of the Navy at the forefront of the New World. I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.